5,800.
Stay on the 4,800.
So the civic fund. Yeah, that's what we got here.
Yeah. Do you?
What can you say except for what's right here?
If everybody in the back could please come down and find a seat so we can start the meeting.
No, it's going into the civic. No. Where's that article where we're going to read 38,011, right? 38,000, and then we're going to amend.
Yeah, you're going to read the 38,000.
Yeah.
No, you're going to read Chris and then Tony and.
No, that's the motion. So I read the motion, 38,000.
No, we understood, John. So we're going to read this one and then we'll read the amended motion.
No, I read this motion, but just put in 38,246. And then Tony will move to amend the article by replacing the number with
Oh,
26,000.
6,000. Okay. But I think it's the same. It's the same motion, anyways.
Yeah, I'm going to close it. Folks, everyone in the back, please have a seat and we'll get the meeting started. Please find a seat so we can get started. Seats over in the corner. Seats on the far side. I have a...
No, it's all right. Good thing we put that 100,000 in, eh?
What's...
I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
Well, just... If you close the doors, though, come in. Quick. All right. People in the back, please find a seat. There are seats in the front and to the sides. In the front and to the sides, there are seats. Please find a seat, those in back, and we'll get started here. Ladies and gentlemen, the quorum for the annual town meeting is 250 voters. I think it's clear to anyone in this hall that we're well in excess of that. And unless I have an objection, I am going to dispense with the actual taking of the quorum. Is there an objection to that? Then we will proceed. I'd like to thank Continental Cablevision for showing this meeting live on Channel 30. We thank Continental Cablevision for their interest in Clinton Town government in providing this service. Your stage members for tonight's meeting are as follows. Down to your right, Selectman James Coyne, Selectman Tony O'Laughlin, Chairperson of the Board of Select Persons Mary Rose Dickout, Vice Chairman Michael Jakonski, Town Solicitor William Conley, and Selectman's Assistant Paul Jensen. I'd also like to introduce down in front our new town accountant as of this week, Robert White. Robert, welcome to Clinton. Our secretary for tonight is Julie Kilbride as well on the stage with me. In keeping with a policy that we adopted a number of years ago, the only hands that will be counted during hand votes will be from those people who are seated in seats in the hall. So I would encourage all standees to find a seat before the first vote is taken. All speakers must be recognized by the moderator before speaking. All questions, comments, or discussion should be directed to the moderator. I will redirect that to the appropriate person for a response. Please note personalities in your remarks and keep all comments to the article under discussion. Please state your name and address before speaking. All proposed amendments should be presented to me in writing. The only people in the hall now should be registered voters in the town of Clinton or people who have been given prior permission by myself to observe the proceedings. Unless I hear an objection, I will dispense with the reading of the warrant, as you should all have copies of this in front of you at this time. And with that, we can begin. Article 1.
Article 1. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to receive the reports of the town officers as printed in the town report.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 1 having been made and seconded. Any questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. All in favor signify by raising your hand now. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Article 2. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate from the current tax levy and take from other available funds the sum of $16,476,799 and to appropriate and transfer the sum of $109,951 from the ambulance enterprise account to be expended from the ambulance enterprise revenues and to transfer from the cemetery trust fund the sum of $50,000 to defray town charges from July 1st, 1994 to June 30th, 1995, as these charges appear in the Finance Committee's report of recommendations.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 2 having been made and seconded. This is your budget. In your Finance Committee section of the town report, you can follow along as we go through the budget. If you have any questions, comments, or discussion on this, when I get to that section, raise your hand. Move it around if you have to. There's a lot of people out here. It's a little difficult for me to see all of you. So did you get my attention? If we get past a budget section and you recognize you would like to go back into something, please signify, and we will go back after it at the end. I will have a catch-all for those things at the end of the session. All right. First of all, moderator, Selectman's office, Finance Committee reserve, town accountant, Town Solicitor. Miscellaneous. Parking Fines Administrator. Board of Assessors. Town Treasurer. Okay. Yes.
Phyllis Vetras, 25 Henry Street, Clinton. I'd like to make a motion to amend Article 2 to read under the treasurer's budget, after treasurer's salary, to add assistant town treasurer's salary, $17,065, and change treasurer's clerk salary to $11,323.02. To change the subtotal in the treasurer's budget to $92,688.02. The reason for
First of all, is there a second on that motion? Second. All right, motion is made and seconded. Let me go over it with you. Okay. In your report, under the treasurer's salary department, the second, the first line item says treasurer's salary. This motion would insert another line item right under that, which would read assistant town treasurer salary. In the far right-hand column, the salary for that would be $17,065, and it would be a full-time job. On what is the second line down on your report, which would therefore become your third line down, treasurer's clerk salaries, that figure would be changed from $20,350 to $11,323.02, thereby increasing the total Treasury Department budget from what is printed in your warrant of $84,650 to $92,688.02, which would be a net increase of some $8,000 and change, small change. All right, questions under, that has been made and seconded. Questions, comments, discussion? Mrs. Vetras. Should be.
Speak up.
No, why don't you try the other one?
Try the button.
All right, the reason for the change in the salary is that I requested a full-time treasurer's assistant, and as far as I knew, it was still going to be in the budget until I saw the budget. The work in the town treasurer's office has now reached a point where we do need a full-time assistant treasurer plus a part-time clerk. In the last 3 years, the work has pretty much tripled in that office. We have taken on a number of new plans for the town, and we have also taken on a great more number of properties in tax title. We have initiated new tax deferred plans, a NOBRA plan. We have initiated bank at work, direct deposit plans. And for this reason, and I could go on and give you a number of reasons why the work has tripled, and I'm sure anybody in this town hall who has ever been in the treasurer's office knows we handle all health and life insurance and so forth, that there is a need for a full-time assistant treasurer and a part-time clerk. Thank you.
Still under discussion on the amendment change, proposed amendment change to the treasurer's department. Is there any further discussion? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. Majority vote. All those in favor of the proposed amendment indicate by raising your hand now. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion is passed. Still under discussion under the Treasurer's Department. Tax Collector. Miscellaneous.
Mr. Moderator,
Where are we?
I thought we were on the miscellaneous, that lot book, civic fund, et cetera.
Miscellaneous, yes.
Okay. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to amend the civic fund line item by adding $4,800 to be expended for the support of social services in the town. Said money to be expended in accordance with the programs as approved by the Board of Selectmen. This would raise the total to $5,800 in the civic fund.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, under the miscellaneous section where it says civic fund, the Board of Selectmen is requesting that you increase that amount from $1,000 to $5,800 under civic fund. Questions, comments, or discussion under that? Mr. Jakonski.
Michael Jakonski, 183 Berlin Street. Mr. Moderator and members of the town meeting, this is to correct an error in the warrants. Traditionally, this money has been appropriated via a warrant article for support of social services in the town. It has generally gone to support the alcoholism drop-in center down on High Street. Due to an oversight, that warrant article was not included in tonight's warrant, and we're attempting to correct that by increasing the civic fund. The money will go to the same place as always, as indicated in the amendment. It's, I think, a worthy and socially responsible cause, and I hope the amendment will pass.
Any further discussion on this article? Mr. Conley.
I would like to assume the responsibility for inadvertently leaving this amount off the warrant. It's traditionally been on the warrant, and if you can judge, as you can judge from the content of the warrant, there was a lot of loose ends going into making out the warrant, and through my overlooking it, it didn't appear on the warrant, but it should have been on there, and this will merely correct and contribute to a long-standing obligation that the town has always supported.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. The motion is passed. Still under miscellaneous. Town Clerk's Office. Conservation. Planning Board. Zoning Board of Appeals. Office of Economic Development. Town Hall. Veterans Rents. Town Hall Preparation. Pensions and Annuities. Police Department. Fire Department. Building Inspector.
Mr. Moderator,
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to amend the line item for building inspector salaries from $20,010 to $24,010, changing the subtotal from $21,210 to $25,210.
Second that motion.
Motion is made and seconded to increase the building inspector's salary account from in your report, $20,010 to $24,010, an increase of $4,000, which would also increase the subtotal by $4,000 just below that. Questions, comments, or discussion under that? Yes, Mr. O'Laughlin.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. The reason I made that motion is, the reason the motion was made in following Article number 17, which we will be dealing with in the very near future. It allows a proposal that was presented to the board by the building inspector to give us increased coverage by having a full-time and a part-time individual. And in order to do that, we had to amend the budget from $20,000 to $24,000. So I think it's a good step for the town. It gives us added coverage for building inspector funds that have been raised in this town. So I'd urge the members to go ahead and increase this line item amount. Thank you.
Any further discussion under the proposed amendment change to the building inspector salary account? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Motion is passed. Gas inspector. Sealer of weights and measures. Wire inspector. Annuities. Civil defense. Sir.
Richard Brown, 664 Main Street. I'm the Civil Defense Director, or Emergency Management Director. I want to amend Article number 2, page 6F, line number 23 under Civil Defense Miscellaneous Expense. Would, under FY95 budget requests, change from $2,565, change it to read $2,000. And under Finance Committee recommended FY95, change from $1,000, change it to read $2,000. Under line number 24, Civil Defense new equipment, under Finance Committee recommended...
Whoa. Would you give me that again, please? Start from the first one. You're changing a budget request? The budget you live with is in the far right-hand column. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me that again, then, please.
Well, I was just... Okay, under the request, we originally requested $2,565.
All right, let me just start with that. Don't change that.
Okay.
That doesn't going to do you any good.
Okay, so...
You want to sit down and come back?
No, I got it.
I'll come back to you if you want to take time to...
On line 24, Civil Defense new equipment then. Under the Finance Committee recommended FY95, change from 1,000, change it to read 2,000.
In the far right-hand column?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then line 25, which is a subtotal line, under FY Finance Committee recommended budget, would change it from 1,000 to a total of $4,565.
No. Roger, you know, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down and get it together, all right?
Okay,
Now,
yep.
You're confusing the two motions.
You're reversing.
Yeah, you reversed. I'll come back to you, but you're very confused right now with the thing, all right? All right, can we move on? Dog officer. School department? Sir.
My name's Bill Conley, 46 Winthrop Street. I'm chairman of the Clinton School. My name's Bill Conley, 46 Winthrop Street. I'm chairman of the school committee, and I'd like to move to amend Article 2 of the Finance Committee report on page 6F of the school department subtotal under the approved column. I'd like to change the figure of $8,698,380 to read $8,618,380, a reduction of $80,000.
All right. Where would that come from? Bill? Which line item would that come from up above? Because they have to add up.
The school department doesn't have line items under the approved article, just under subtotal. On the far right-hand side, there's only one figure for the school
Well,
department.
that's the one you're lowering.
I'm lowering that figure.
Thank you. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second, okay. In the far right-hand column, ladies and gentlemen, the only figure you have under the school department is for $8,698,380. This motion would lower that figure by $80,000. As you know, the town meeting has control over the bottom line of the school department budget, but not how it is spent. So that is why it is presented in this manner. That motion has been made and seconded. Discussion under the proposed budget reduction. Sir.
The reason for this motion is to reflect or help reflect a substantial change in projected state aid to education coming to Clinton. Due to the short notice involved in the changes by the state from what was projected, it was not possible to arrange a meeting of the school committee. Therefore, I want the town meeting members to understand that I am making this motion as an individual and not as an official action of the school committee. However, I believe it's in the best interest of the town and in the best interest of the school system. Thank you.
Any further discussion of the proposed amendment change? There being none, a vote at this time. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. The vote is passed. Anything else under the school department? Department of Public Works? You got the road department, cemetery department, water department, trash removal department, Board of Health,
Deborah Grant, 17 Clamshell Road, Clinton. I'm chairman of the Board of Health. I'd like to make requested changes in the line items for the Board of Health budget. Under Health Inspector salary, I'd like to change it from $7,700 to $8,840. Under Health Inspector's expenses, I'd like to change that from $100 to $0. Under Health Center miscellaneous expense, I'd like to change that from $3,800 to $3,900. Under Pickup Dead Animals, I'd like to change that from $400 to $720. Under Equipment, I'd like to change that from $500 to $1,500 for a subtotal of $62,486.
Is there a second to that motion, first of all? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, under the Board of Health, these proposed changes would be Health Inspector's salary, fifth line down under the Board of Health, from $7,700 in the far right-hand column to $8,840. Health Inspector expenses would go from $100 to $0. Health Center miscellaneous expenses from $3,800 to $3,900. Pickup Dead Animals would go from $400 to $720. Equipment from $500 to $1,500 for a subtotal of $62,486, an increase in what's in your warrant of some $2,000 $460. And that motion has been made and seconded. On to discussion under that proposed amendment change. Mrs. Grant.
Okay. Under health inspector salary, last year we requested $7,000 and we did not overspend our budget. We offered the current health inspector $8 an hour when he started, and he started September 16th of 1993. So that would not overspend our budget of $7,000. But for this year, or for the next fiscal year, $8 an hour, he works 20 hours a week. That would come out to approximately $8,300. So we'd be over budget if we did not get this increase. And what I did do was put in a 50-cent raise for that inspector. So that's where the 8840 figure comes in. It's $8.50 an hour times 20 hours a week, which is what they work. For $170 a week salary times 52 weeks would be the 8840. The health inspector expenses, we never had a health inspector expenses line item. We had health agent expenses line item of $100. So I'd like to zero that out and put that in the health center miscellaneous expense to make that the $3,900. As for the pickup dead animals, we requested $720, and right now, the person who picks up those animals in town, all the raccoons and all the opossums and skunks, or sometimes there's cats around too, they usually run between 5 and 6 animals a month. Right now, we're over our budget, and we have put in a request to the Finance Committee for another $240 for this fiscal year. And as far as I know, I don't believe that request is going to be able to be answered. So we're going to run over our budget again, and that will probably have to go as an unpaid bill, which isn't fair to the person who picks up the animals. If the $720 is in our account from the very beginning, then we can expend that and pick up the animals. With the rabies situation as it is, we don't like to leave dead wild animals around. There's a possibility that domestic animals can take it and come in contact with it. Children can come in contact with anything. So that's why we'd like to keep it, raise that up to $720 to cover the expenses. Equipment, we asked for $3,500, which would have been for like a new computer. We do not have a working typewriter in the office currently. So we do need a typewriter. We are going to put in a grant with the Communities and Economics Department for a computer, which the grant would cover half of the computer equipment, pay for half of the computer equipment if we got that grant. So we'd like to put that in the budget from the very beginning so that it's there. So that would be those totals.
Is there any further discussion under the proposed amendment change to the Board of Health? There being none, take a vote at this time. All in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Motion is passed. Still under Board of Health? Council on Aging. Veterans Office? Library? Sir.
I'm Anthony Marini, 93 Highland Street. I'm also the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the library. I'd like to offer an amendment to the head librarian's salary. Somehow when I looked at the annual report, there was a grievous error there, and there was only a 5% raise for our fine head librarian, Mrs. Flaherty. And I'd like to raise that number from $24,486 as shown to $25,652, which is an increase of $2,332. And this will also amend the library subtotal to $131,361.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to increase the head librarian salary account in the far right-hand column from a printed $24,486 to a proposed $25,652, thereby increasing the subtotal for the library by a said like amount. Questions, comments, or discussion under this article? First, go ahead. Sir.
The proposed amendment would bring the rate of increase to 10%, which follows the rest of the library staff, and I saw no reason that the head librarian should be singled out for a 5% increase. I feel it would be fair and equitable to increase the salaries across the board, since we don't know if the proposed personnel board recommendations are going to be passed. This is the fair and equitable thing to do to increase everyone's salaries by the 10% level. Thank you.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Philip Bailey, Chairman of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee this year took the salaries and all the salaries in account and took the heads of the departments and increased them 5%. All other people, we increased non-union, the non-contractual 10%. And this is our rationale for doing it. All heads of the departments will get a 5% increase, all others 10%. What effect it has on later activity, that's our rationale. Thank you.
Still under discussion on the proposed amendment to the library. Sir. Come on up front, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't be heard on TV unless you're on the microphones, so that's why we have to bring you up. And we know you all want to be on TV, right? Sir.
Mark Furno, 395 Chestnut Street. My question is, how does this raise, the 10% raise, compare to the head librarian's raise in, say, the last 3 years?
Is there someone who would like to tackle that? Ma'am.
This doesn't include the secret, which is irritates the hell out of me.
Christine Flaherty, 410 Water Street, and I'm the librarian in question, and the last 3 years it's been zero. And I think for other non-union department heads it's also been zero. For all of us, not just the last 3 years, but since 1989-90 fiscal year.
Okay. Still under discussion. Is there any further discussion of the proposed amendment change to the head librarian's salary account? There being none, we will take a vote at this time. All those in favor of the proposed amendment to raise the salary account by the said amount indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. Still under the library. Parks and Recreation. Fuller Field. Sir.
My name is John Gorman, 29 Layton Ave, Clinton, Mass. My name is John Gorman, 29 Layton Ave.
John, you got to speak a little closer to the mic.
My name is John Gorman, 29 Layton Ave, Clinton, Mass. I'm also the caretaker at Fuller Field. And I'd like to amend the miscellaneous expense from $5,651 to $18,000. It's a lot of money.
Wait a minute. You give me the numbers again, please.
5651.
All right, that's not what you've got. What you're dealing with is the far right-hand column, $5,300.
My apology, Mr.
Okay.
$5,300.
To what?
$18,000.
To $18,000. All right, there's a motion been made to increase the Fuller Field miscellaneous expense, far right-hand column, from $5,300 to $18,000. Is there a second on that motion? Second. All right, under discussion of the proposed amendment change, sir.
Fuller Field is probably, as you all know, one of the nicest facilities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But over the years, there's been nothing done there. No money has been put in there. Right now, you have no heating system. You have a sprinkler system that was put in by myself and inmates from MCI Lancaster. That went out for bid at $25,000. It was put in for $3,500. All we paid for was the material. I could go into other things, but if anybody is sports oriented, anybody who uses the field, anybody who goes down there, the clubhouse is in total. Nothing works in there. There's no bathrooms there. They don't work because there's been no money put into the field. Now, I just leave it up to the people of the town of Clinton. If they want to fix the field, fine. If they don't want to fix the field, then they won't. Thank you.
Still under discussion of the proposed amendment change on the Fuller Field miscellaneous expense. Sir, Mr. Jakonski.
Mike Jakonski, 183 Berlin Street in Clinton. Mr. Moderator and members of the town meeting, I hope that this amendment will be defeated. I hope that this amendment will be defeated. There is a warrant article later on in the warrant to provide for repairs for Fuller Field, the field house, the restrooms, excuse me. And I would ask you to stop and think for a minute. This is some 300% increase in the miscellaneous expense account. As there is another opportunity to spend money to fix the field house at Fuller Field, I would ask you to defeat this amendment for that reason. The other reason being, I think the explanation as to what this money was going to be spent on was not adequate. Thank you.
Still under discussion. Is there any other discussion? Sir, down here first, then we'll go to you. Mr. O'Laughlin.
Mr. Moderator, my name is Tony O'Laughlin, 68 Lancaster Road in Clinton. Speaking on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I don't know, in the last 6 months, we went to the Fuller Field Commission on many occasions requesting some cost estimates to how to get that clubhouse back into repair. We as a board realize that field house has not been repaired and needs some drastic action, and thanks to some contributions made recently, there is heat, and we are including it in the budget this year, so there will be heat down there. But I don't think piecemealing this thing together is the answer. I think we've got to go out and get one estimate and repair the clubhouse the way it should be repaired, and that's comply with ADA compatibility for handicap bathrooms. The entire building needs to be worked and brought up to speed. So I would also recommend that we not endorse this recommendation this time. Thank you.
Still under discussion. Sir.
John Gorman, Fuller Field. I'd just like to say one thing. There is an article for $10,000 on the town warrant, and I would like to ask...
All questions come here, Mr.
Yeah. The administrative assistant...
All questions come here.
Yeah. If he would kindly...
John, all questions come here,
okay.
Sir.
May I ask him?
You asked me.
Okay. May I ask him a question?
No, you asked me the question.
Oh, okay. He came down to the field with the building inspector, and he looked at the bathrooms, and I believe, and all he has to say is yes or no. I don't want to get him in the middle with anything. And they both said, or the building inspector said, $10,000 wouldn't even touch these bathrooms, wouldn't even touch them as far as repairs. Thank you.
Mr. Jagonski.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to answer that question. Just to give you a short history of the repairs of Fuller Field. From my own point of view, one day I read the item, and it said that the field house at Fuller Field was in terrible repair, no bathrooms, no heat, et cetera, that the Board of Selectmen were well aware of this and that a budget would be submitted to fix it all. Up until reading it in the paper, I had not heard, as a member of the Board of Selectmen, I've only been there a year, that Fuller Field was in terrible shape. I have no doubt that it is. But I was anticipating getting a budget request to fix it. We received the Fuller Field Commission budget. It was a level-funded budget, the same amount requested as in previous years. We went on to say that we would consider a warrant article separate from the budget, that warrant article appearing later, to repair the field house at Fuller Field, and asked for an estimate. We subsequently got an estimate that we considered to be unreasonably high, and also contained such things as $14,000 for a lawnmower, which we thought had little or nothing to do with the repair of Fuller Field. We requested further information with some reasonable backup. Most of the people who have come to the Board of Selectmen with repairs, we have quite a lot of repairing to do, have provided a reasonable estimate prepared by professionals or in consultation with professionals. From the Fuller Field Commission, we have received nothing of that sort. There was some inclination to leave a repair of Fuller Field off of the warrant article because of what we considered to be the dearth of information on what it was going to cost. We subsequently decided to put a $10,000 warrant article on the warrant, feeling that this would give the Fuller Field Commission an opportunity to present to town meeting a reasonable estimate of what it was going to cost to fix Fuller Field. We had no illusions that it was only going to cost $10,000, but we needed a number to put in there. $10,000 seemed to be a nice round number. I mean, we could have made it $1, we could have made it $2, but that would have been ridiculous. It would have served the purpose. The purpose of that warrant article that is coming up later is to provide the Fuller Field Commission with an opportunity to explain how much is it going to cost, and where did those numbers come from. And should this amendment be made later on in the warrant article and the explanation of where that money is coming from be sufficient, I will have no objection to it. But that's the story of the $10,000 warrant article. If the money is for the repair of Fuller Field, then it should be passed in that warrant article. If it's passed in miscellaneous expense account, there is no need to spend it on repairs. I mean, I think the money should be appropriated in the proper spot, and if extra money for the repair of Fuller Field is going to be voted, I believe it should be voted in that warrant article later on in the evening. Thank you.
Still under discussion of the Fuller Field request. Is there any further discussion? Again, what you are voting on is an increase from the Fuller Field miscellaneous expense from a proposed $5,300 to $18,000, an increase of $12,700. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote at this time. All those in favor of the increase indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. Motion is defeated. Still under Fuller Field. Retirement Board. Ambulance Enterprise Fund. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I'm James Gibbons, 1100 Ridgefield Circle. Backing up the section previous to the ambulance account.
Okay.
More for a point of information, I'd like to know if we could be advised on debt retirement principle. There's an excess of $1 million payment budgeted for this fiscal year, and I wondered if we could have some details as to what debt retirement to that amount is occurring.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to handle that? Because I know I don't. Whose budget would that be? That's the... retirement? Debt retirement principal. I could sing and dance, but I don't think you want me to do that. So I don't think you're going to get your answer. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you unless, Mr. Coyne, would you like to...
Phyllis, do you want to speak on that? Well, he said debt retirement. Is that what you said, Jimmy? Where's Jimmy Gibbons? Mr. Gibbons. Where is he?
What? All right.
Jimmy, what was that on? Debt retirement? Yeah.
Mr. Moderator, on page 85 of our town report, there's a breakdown of the loans and various items of debt that the town has. According to that listing, there's one debt maturing in this coming fiscal year. So I wonder if we could be advised which debts are getting repaid.
Okay. Mrs. Vetras.
Phyllis Vetras, 25 Henry Street, Town Treasurer. The debt that will be paid off this year is for the Clinton Middle School.
Speak a little closer to the mic.
The debt that to be paid off this year is for the Clinton Middle School. The last payment is due July 1st of 1994. On page 85, there's a breakdown of all debt due through this year. $255,000 will be paid on July 1st of this coming year, and that will end the middle school debt completely. The elementary school, if you will look to page 85, it lists the outstanding debts. Town barn, town hall wiring, Gorham Avenue, landfill water and sewer, which was a 1989 loan, and land, water and sewer. The $1,955,000 is still due on the landfill water and sewer.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Coyne.
Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, I think what Mr. Gibbons is really looking for here is the increase of $915,000 to $1,015,000. As Phyllis had just noted, the middle school note is being paid off in July, so that cleans that out. But we borrowed for a new fire truck this year, $240,000. Well, his question is that he wants to know where the increase came from. Now, that's what was submitted. It had to be the fire trucks. And the sewer and water is what it
difference is that we are about to borrow. In fact, I took bids today for a fire truck for $240,000 and $500,000 more for water improvements. The money has not been borrowed, but it had to go in this year's budget in order to meet the interest and the principal payments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion or questions on that section of the budget? Ambulance Enterprise Fund. And down at the bottom, you have a general summation of each department added together. And I will at this time open it up to any other department that we already went over, and you may have found something you'd like to ask now that you didn't see when we went over that various individual department. If there are any questions, comments, or discussion, I'll take those at this time. Mr. Bailey.
Just a correction. If you look in your books on page 4F, it was pointed out to me by one of our pleasant people here that we've made an error. The 9th line down should read 40,000 instead of 4,000. But the final number adds up to the 58,000. So, but the correct number should be $40,000 liability insurance. Thank you.
Everybody clear on that? Because the subtotal is correct, we won't take an amendment on it. Mr. Sheridan.
My name is Ed Sheridan. I live at 118 Chase Street. And I would request an amendment. It seems we've been neglected, the Personnel Board. It was my impression we had a line item approved for $2,500. It's nowhere to be found in the book. It was for printing that we need to do to get everything in order and to get ready for the implementation of the bylaws.
Okay. So your request is to?
Right now we have no funds, so I'm requesting a...
Not only have no funds, you have no line item at the moment.
We have no line item. We are the proverbial duck in a desert, and I would like to...
Would you like to add one, Mr. Sheridan, or? Are you requesting, are you making a motion, or?
I'll make a motion that we include a line item for $2,500 for the Personnel Board.
Where would you want to put that line item?
Well...
In the budgets.
No, this can be done. I know it seems kind of...
Probably at the last entry on the Finance Committee's thing here. I don't know where else it would go. We haven't reserved space to this point.
I'm sorry, where did you want to put this?
We haven't reserved space, so if you could fit us in during wherever you'd like.
Wherever I would like. Mr. Bailey, please.
My friend Edward.
Yes, Philip.
I think the Board of Selectmen would agree that we did talk about this at one of the meetings, that they needed some funds. We never got a formal request, Edward, but boy, we'd like to help you out. I would like to make a motion, if the people here will vote on it. In the last page of...
Before, are you making a motion on the Personnel Board?
Make a motion that we add...
Would you withdraw your motion?
I'd be happy to withdraw my motion.
Okay.
25.
All right, Mr. Sheridan's motion is withdrawn.
Okay.
We'll now go to Mr. Bailey.
All right. On page 10F, I'd like to make a motion that we place a personnel budget number, requested number of $2,500 for the Personnel Board an approved number from the Finance Committee of $2,500.
Okay. Now, we're on page 10F.
10F, under unclassified.
Under unclassified.
Yeah.
How appropriate.
We're going to write the word Personnel Board.
Thank
or
you.
Personnel Department.
Okay, so this will be a new line item in your budget under page 10F.
Yeah.
The line item underneath unclassified, it will say Personnel Board.
Miscellaneous expense.
Personnel Board miscellaneous expense. Thank you. That item will be for
Or for Ed Sheridan's campaign.
$2,500. Is there a second? Is there a second to that motion, sir? A second to that motion. All right, we're now under discussion under the proposed amendment to the budget of $2,500 for a new line item for the Personnel Board. Mr. Bailey.
I remember this being talked about, and when the Board of Selectmen had a meeting with the Personnel Board, and we were invited and we listened to the person, and I remember them telling us that they had no envelope paper, stamps, and the like. We did not formally get a piece of paper as a request, but we do see the need for this board to have some means of working. So I would appreciate you voting for it. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under this proposed amendment to the budget? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. Is there any other? The entire budget is open. Is there any other questions, comments, or discussion? Chief.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Moderator, under police patrolman salaries from $524,729 to $547,729, an increase of $23,000, for a total budget of $1,132,934.
All right, a motion has been made to increase the patrolman's salary account, which is the third line item down, from $524,729 to $547,729, which is an increase of $23,000 in that line item and the police department budget. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay, questions, comments, discussion under that proposed amendment change? Sir.
Yes, Mr. Moderator. The officers now are spending a great deal, much more time on each call that they go on. The seriousness of the calls that they go on have increased, and there has to be adequate staffing needed to protect you, the public, and the officers themselves on these calls. We're trying to bring, what I'd like to do is bring the staffing back to where we were prior to the budget crisis. We're still down a couple of officers. It takes a year to train an officer, hire and train an officer. We hired 2 officers last year. They're just getting out of the academy now. And by the time that we start the process of hiring another one, I expect another officer to leave, and we're always playing catch-up. And we're never at full staffing at the police department, and I ask that you vote for this article. This is a change in the budget. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under this proposed amendment? Mr. O'Laughlin.
Mr. Chairman, under Tony O'Laughlin, Lancaster Road, member of the Clinton Board of Selectmen. When the Clinton police budget was originally presented to us, a request was made of 2 new patrolmen. However, the board felt that at this time there was adequate coverage for the town of Clinton. There are 2 new candidates, as the chief indicated, coming out of the academy, and we felt that, along with the recent grant that his department had gotten to get more exposure downtown, which we have gotten, and we all appreciate that, but at this time, until the fiscal constraints of the town are remedied, we were going to have to bite the bullet and stay with what we got. So I recommend that this change not be implemented. Thank you.
Still under discussion of the proposed amendment change. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. O'Laughlin is speaking for himself. I voted to put an officer in the police department. I thought it was needed, and with the change in some retirements that are coming up there, and as the chief has stated, by the time this officer, whoever it is, comes down the road to be put into that position, that we will be short again. And we certainly need somebody, because down the road we're going to have to. The officers are getting much older over there now. The retirements are longer, or the vacations are longer. And to keep the department in the full complement, I voted in favor of this officer.
Is there any further discussion on the proposed amendment in the police salaries account, patrolman salary account? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. This would increase the amount by $23,000. All those in favor of the proposed amendment indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Is there anything else? Anyone else, like any other department or area of the budget someone would like to get into? Sir. You got one?
Richard Brown, 664 Main Street, Clinton Emergency Management Director, Civil Defense. I'd like to amend Article 2, page 6F, line 23, under Clinton Civil Defense miscellaneous expense. Under the Finance Committee recommended FY95 column, change from $1,000, change it to read $2,000. And under line 24, Civil Defense new equipment account, change from 1,000 to read 2,000. And that would change line number 25 under the Finance Committee recommended FY95 subtotal, would change the subtotal from 2,000 to change it to $4,000. This would increase the budget by $2,000.
All right, let me get this right. You're increasing both line items by $1,000.
Yes, sir.
So they both go from 1 to 2. Thank you. Is there a second on that motion? Sir?
I'd like to have Mr. Brown repeat those again. I think you got another one backward there. Maybe I'm wrong, but just...
Line 23, under FY95 recommended budget reads $1,000. I want to increase it to $2,000. Line 24, which is under Civil Defense new equipment, under Finance Committee recommended it's $1,000. I want to change it to $2,000. So that's an increase from the total of $2,000 under the subtotal to $4,000.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion? Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to increase the Civil Defense miscellaneous expense from $1,000 to $200,000 and Civil Defense new equipment also from $1,000 to $2,000. Increasing the total budget from $2,000 to $4,000. Questions, comments, or discussion under this proposed amendment change? Mr. Brown, you have? No. Okay, you can, all set. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion? Yes, Mr. Jakonski.
Mr. Moderator, a couple of times at Board of Selectmen meetings, I've had discussions with the Civil Defense, Mr. Brown in particular, about the state of some of the materials that the Civil Defense has stored around the town. I offered the opinion that much of it was junk. Now, I do understand that one person's junk is another person's treasure. What I would say is, however, that most of the equipment that the Civil Defense has, in my opinion, is stored as if it were junk. It is all over the place. We asked at the Board of Selectmen that something could be done to neaten things up. As far as I know, nothing has been done to neaten things up. When we were looking at our presentation, part of which you will probably see later, of some of the things that needs to be done at the town hall, the person who was not from Clinton who was preparing the presentation, showed us a picture of one of the rooms where the civil defense stuff was stored, and said, "Isn't it sad that a municipal building should be used to store junk like this?" Perhaps it's not junk, and I will tell you I have no philosophical difference with the thought of a civil defense, but I think that it is a small favor to ask that the materials that are bought with the money that the taxpayers spend be stored reasonably, neatly, and be stored in a manner that people could identify it as worthwhile, valuable equipment. That is not the case. I would recommend that this amendment be defeated, and if in the coming year the civil defense people can show an effort to neaten things up and treat the equipment that they have as if it was important equipment, then next year I would certainly support an increase in their budget. Thank you.
Still under discussion of the proposed amendment. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I understand what Mr. Jakonski is talking about. I think he's talking about a supply room we have down the fire station, and the condition the room is in wasn't caused by ourselves. The severity of it was due to a vehicle being stripped by the fire chief and taken out of service, and the equipment taken off that and thrown into our room in piles. The room was in a fairly neat condition before that was done. If that's the equipment he's talking about, we had nothing to do with, and most of the equipment in there wasn't paid by tax dollars by the citizens of Clinton. A lot of it is surplus property that we've gotten by begging different state agencies and different surplus areas to give us the equipment. The reason why I'm increasing the budget is because we are getting rid of some of our old vehicles. We've received one surplus truck already from surplus property, and we need this extra money to fix it up into a viable piece of equipment. Some of our other equipment is old and antiquated. Some of it has been, I don't know how to say this. Some of it's been damaged inside the fire station. And the way the equipment looks, I think Mr. Jakonski had a tour down there, a guided tour by certain personnel, that certain things had been done that I wasn't aware of. The equipment stacked on top of other equipment, breaking different things. A boat trailer was thrown on top of our 1968 Dodge van and broke both halves of the windshield. If you know of a 68 Dodge van, the windshield is split in the middle. I just found that out just recently. So the condition and the way the stuff is kept down there wasn't done by my department.
Thank you. You all set?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Sir. Motion has been made to move this particular question. Is there a second? I see one. Before I get into this, is there any further discussion on the article if the vote was no? There is. All right, hold on. No. Motion has been made to move the question. You are voting on whether to move the question, not on the motion itself right now. You are voting on whether to end debate on this motion. Okay? All those in favor of voting right now on this indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. We will now vote immediately on the proposed amendment, which is a $2,000 increase in the civil defense budget. All those in favor of the $2,000 increase indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Is there any, sir? You need to read it?
Dean Weeks, 73 Summer Street. I'd like to change line number 7, page 6F, dive team equipment, from 0 to read $500 to make the total subtotal $984,504.
Dean, where is that?
Page 6F.
Okay, thank you. There is a, ladies and gentlemen, motion been made to increase on page 6F towards the top, 7th line down, dive team equipment. There is no appropriation there. This would put $500 in that line item amount. First of all, is there a second to that motion? There is a second. Questions, comments, or discussion? Mr. Jakonski.
I hate to be perceived as a Scrooge. I would just like to tell the people that the Board of Selectmen did consider this request. I don't know if the Finance Committee did, and did recommend that it not be funded. They did so because they believe that this is the nose of the camel. Now, I believe it was Teddy Roosevelt, one of our former presidents, said that one way...
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
That one way to keep the camel out of the tent was not to let the camel put his nose in it. And I think the reason that we recommended against this is $500 this year. Within 5 years, it will be well in excess of $500. That is our concern. I hope that the amendment is not passed.
Is there any further discussion under this request? Sir.
Yes. In requesting this, the dive team is a newly formed team, and most of the equipment has been donated by forfeiture of the Drug Task Force. We have over $10,000 worth of equipment now. There's 8 men between the police department and fire department, and most of the money we're asking for is just to maintain the equipment we have now. Right now, most of the divers are taking it out of their pockets. That's it.
Thank you. Could someone in the back close that door tight until we get that horn fixed? Is there any further discussion under this? Sir.
Michael Lutz, 6 Oak Hill Ave. I'm also a member of the dive team. I'm going to just say a couple of things in regards to the money that we're looking for. The town of Clinton, we have virtually, as far as for the fire department aspect of it, virtually no safety equipment other than a couple of suits that leak. Okay? When the weather gets cold and the ice gets thin and we have children out there and we have accidents, we have an awful lot of water in the town of Clinton. Okay? When something happens to, I'm just going to say, one of your children or one of you, you're going to be the first ones to complain. Okay? That somebody's gone through the ice and we can't go get them because we don't have the 250 feet or 500 feet of rope that we need to go rescue this child. All right? I don't think $500 is asking a lot. As Mr. Jakonski said, you know, the camel, whatever about the camel. I'm not worried about the camel. All right? I'm more worried about the safety and looking and go out and get these people. I have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,500 of my own gear that I use out there. I'd gladly go in the water for anybody. Okay, and I hope everybody approves this. We're really looking for this. We can use this $500. Thank you.
Still under discussion. Is there any further discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All those in favor of the $500 request indicate by raising your hands. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone owns a Mercury Cougar 138 IGT, that's your horn, Mercury Cougar, license 138 IGT. Still under the budget. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under any aspect of this budget? There being none. Mr. Jensen, do you have a sub-increase total? Okay. Keep in mind that we've had a number of amendments to increase the budget. But we also had one large decrease of $80,000 in the school department budget, which gives us a decrease of, what was it? $52,000 and change from the proposed Finance Committee budget, which means that allows us to vote on this article by hand. This is a I don't think, in terms of this meeting, we're all set. In terms of how we're voting, it's not, if we're off by, I'm sure you'll put that together. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, we can vote on this Article 2, the budget, by hand. Unless there's any further discussion, is there any? Last chance? Do you want the final exact tally? Okay. Come down here, sir, if you'd like. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the budget, it's a $51,070 reduction in the budget as proposed by your Finance Committee. This budget will now be voted on as amended by you over the last hour or so. With that, we will take a vote by hand. All those in favor of the budget as amended indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. Article 2 is passed. Article 3.
Article 3. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officials of the town as provided by Section 108 of Chapter 41 of the Mass General Laws as amended in accordance with the Finance Committee's report of recommendations, said salaries and compensations to be effective from July 1st, 1994 to June 30th, 1995. Such sums have been raised and appropriated under the preceding article.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 3 having been made and seconded, dealing with salaries for elected officials as you voted already of certain salary amounts in Article 2. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you. The article is passed.
Article 4. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer and town collector to enter into a compensating balance agreement for fiscal year 1995 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the Massachusetts General Laws.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 4, annual article, requires the town treasurer and town collector to put monies they collect in interest-bearing accounts. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed.
Article number 5. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the town treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow the sum of $1,950,000, such sum to be expended by the Board of Selectmen for the purposes of architectural fees, construction, repairs, and renovations, including costs incidental and related thereto to the Town Hall, 242 Chestnut Street, and to ensure accessibility to handicapped individuals as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board regulations, and that the town treasurer be authorized to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore in accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapters 41 and 44, as amended.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 5 having been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $1,950,000 for town hall renovation. This is a borrowing article, bears the approval of your finance committee, will be voted on by hand, and requires a 2/3 vote for passage. Mr. Coyne.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring in the motion and start off with the members of the committee. The members of the committee are Mary Rose Dickout, a member of the Board of Selectmen, Douglas Crosman, James Coyne, a member of the Selectmen, Paul Cherubini, and John Graves. After the board organized last year, it seen the need for a lot of work to be done on this building. There was many, many meetings held on this, and we did some short repair work on the roof to kind of hold the water out for a while, but it doesn't seem to be taken up there, so I'm not going to say much on it right now, and I'm going to turn it back to the chairman. And also, at this time, we would like to give, on behalf of the committee, a great thank you to Chris Philbin, who is the Community Development Board upstairs, who has put a lot of time and effort into this with the board that was appointed. And I'll turn it back to the Selectman Mary Rose Dickout. We'll go from there.
Okay, without any further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Douglas Crosman, who is going to do a brief slideshow presentation and give us some examples of some of the deficiencies in the town hall. So, Doug?
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand this is approximately a 10-minute presentation. I would encourage you very much to pay close attention. I know it's a large expenditure of money, but it's also a large problem in the building. So I'd ask you, so you can make an intelligent decision in a few minutes, that you pay close attention to this presentation.
Well, people, I know they've tried to get a quorum here for a long time, had tough luck, but movies will do it. So at this time, I'd like, but just in case, we may have to dim these lights. And if we do, it'll be a long time coming back on because they're no good. But in the meantime, during this winter, we tried to do a few roof repairs. And I'd just like to kind of show you what you got up there for planks under there. It didn't start leaking yesterday, believe me. So that's what you got for a roof on the town hall. Now, I'd like to show you some slides of our magnificent building. This, of course, is a recent picture, because you know they're out here painting this week. But this is our town hall as you see it every day, and don't notice the things that are wrong. This, of course, is the gentleman and the great architects, and they were great. This is a well-built and planned building. This is up in the towers, which you don't see much of, but over here in this corner, if you can see it, this is our rain gutter system, but it looks like somebody shot it full of buckshot. And this is half of our problem. It's coming down, and instead of being carried away, it's causing all kinds of problems with our brick and terracotta. This, again, you can see the holes in the bottom of the gutter. This is our skylights over the stairway coming in the back, and they've been patched and puttied and cooked, and they still leak. But everything's been temporary over the years. You'll see here is a couple of shingles missing out of that tile roof, a couple more over here, and there's many, many more. This is a tough one, but it shows a very bad leak right here. And this is your flashing down the side of the chimney, and that's been mucked up with tar and silver paint and everything, but to no avail. There's another shingle missing here. Here's some more tar, gunk, and flashing, and shingles missing. There's a broken one right there. Another one out here. Another one sliding out, ready to hit somebody on the head. This is on the inside. Now this is where the water's coming through from one of them leaks. And this is deteriorating the ceiling in bad shape. Wow, this is really pale. But again, it's some parts here where it's getting ruined, such as that place right up there over your head. There's a good one. Up here on the sides, on those slanted part there, is where about 25 years ago they took the slates off and they put these fiberglass shingles on here. And as you can see, every one is broken, cracked, and these tab slots are wore out so you can see the boards. This again is that, which you can see better there. But that's it there. And this to some of your deck, if anybody realizes it, in this decoration, every one of these little knobs up there is an electric light bulb that's been painted white over. But that's an elegant, elegant ceiling. This is your front balcony out there, and the terracotta and these balusters are completely cracked open, and so at the top, you can see it up here where the water's getting in, and of course, each time the water gets in during the winter, it explodes and blows off more of the terracotta. This one here is where the terracotta on the beam is being taken out of the water, has got behind and is spalling. And again, if we don't do something with it, we're going to be in tough sneakers. This is again, and this is the terracotta. This is one of the window sills. And this is where the water's getting in and breaking it up in here. And then we got, of course, more leaks. And just show you some of the leaks with the paint deteriorating. Here is a large chunk of terracotta that fell off over the entrance. That could have been his, and besides, you can see this here, where the black stains are, is where the water is getting into the joints. And again, and this is the close-up of that piece of terracotta that's missing that fell out. Here again, you got some of the brickwork that's getting ready to fall out. This is up on the tower, just below the openings. And this is the splits here, and the masonry that's falling apart here, and that's going to be on the ground shortly. Again, this is more brickwork that's failing over here, and again, because of these joints getting behind the brick and then the water and the ice breaking them away. they've been joined up a little bit, but very terribly. Here again, you can see your joints that are breaking, the terracotta is breaking off up here. And this is in the cellar. This is a steel beam that's holding you up over there when you come in that side entrance. And these, big word here, stalactites, that's not icicles, but this is the condition downstairs near the boiler room. This is, of course, the front entrance. And this, again, you can see the deterioration in here. And, of course, this is our front entrance as it is today, which should be restored the way it used to be. This, of course, is your town offices that you see every day. You walk in, even the people here don't realize the problems that are here because it is such a beautiful structure. Again, the light is bad. You get many deteriorations up in here because of the leaky roof. And this is some of the skylight that you can only see a part of because of the patch-up. And again, that's where I showed you before. This is the terrazzo out in the hallways and so forth that is pretty well cracked up and broken, as you can see yourself as you come in and out. But those should be all fixed and ground in and repaired. This is the back wall out in the lobby part that has been leaking for a long time, and the paint and plaster is shot real bad. Here again is your windows with your window open with the portable air conditioners. All these round domes and everything should be opened up, and they've been closed up for years. This is the janitor's closet, which is supposed to be the way from the basement up to the first floor. But the storage takes place, and this will be one reason with the elevator will take care of from the basement to the third floor. This is just basement space that could be made into very nice offices if needed. But just a good cleanup and a paint job for now would do what we want. This is again more cellar basement space that could be utilized to a much better degree than it is today. And this is still just another picture of downstairs. And some of you older people can recognize what this is, but we still have it, a little antiquated, but we still have it, a flush box. And again, and this is what was the kitchen. It's become some file, but we still got the old stove if everybody wants to make anything. I could use a lunch, but this is space that could be well used to make room in this town hall. This is again some of our antiquated plumbing that needs replacement, and just a lot of problems, but that's part of the deal. Again, this is the back steps going out over there, and they're caving in. These would have to be taken off and reset, rebuilt. And of course, this is the sidewalk leading the way. That's not in too good a shape. Again, this is one of our radiators, which will stay in use, except we'll get some valves that work. And again, like I said, the antiquated plumbing, but they're all in good shape. They can work, and we can make them work better. While we're on that subject, I'd like to remind people that this building, if you can imagine the size of it, was one thermostat for the whole place. So that when you're going to have a town meeting here in the wintertime, those poor people up there have to roast to get the heat up in here. And this is, I think somebody said the fuel bill last year was a little over $20,000 for fuel. And I think somebody investigated the burner, and it's averaged 10 gallons of fuel per hour. So think of that a little bit when we talk about a new boiler. Again, this is one of the pipes downstairs, the asbestos falling off of it, which has to be removed now because of new EPA laws and so forth. But this is what you got, all this loose asbestos down there. And I guess when you have a play, that's why you send the children down to change their clothes. So it's not too handy. This is falling on the terracotta, which has got to be replaced, repaired, and resealed. And then it should be good for another 100 years. This is the windows up over the stage. These were designed originally to let the smoke escape. But they haven't been open for years. They're nailed shut, but they do leak like hell. And they cause a lot of problems there. In fact, one beam, a wooden beam, was rotted until it got changed during the winter. And again, we're back to our town hall and some of the brickwork and so forth. I guess it's all over. What do you know? So, like I said, it may be a lot of money, and there's no question about it, but you've built schools, and you've got those over with. The last one is about paid for, and I think it's now time to use a little portion of that money on this building right here, so we'll have a place to meet forever and ever. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion under Article 5 at this time? Okay, Mr. Go, all set? Okay, you want to speak? Sir.
Bob McIntyre, Summit Street. This $1.9 million expenditure, is this a guesstimate, or have some concrete figures been given?
Okay. Ms. Tico.
Mr. Moderator, if I may, this is a fairly concrete estimate. I would say to do everything that we propose to do, that will be right on in the figure. It's an enormous amount of work to be done here. It's just not, I think, what you can show in a 10-minute slide presentation. The restrooms, we have to be ADA compliance, just many, many things. You're talking a roof, you're talking between 200 and 250,000 to 300,000. The money adds up very, very quickly, Bob. So it is a very true estimate.
What's the time element?
Excuse me?
The time element for the...
Approximately a year from beginning to finish.
Does that include asbestos removal?
I'm sorry?
Does that include asbestos removal?
Yes.
Still under discussion under Article 5. Sir.
Jack Burke from 64 Grove. You're going to borrow 1.9 over how long of a period of time?
20 years, sir.
At what rate of interest?
I believe 6%.
That's what, $60,000 a year?
I don't have, excuse me, the exact figures on me.
$120,000 a year.
Well,
That's four.
I know we do have a breakdown of figures. I don't have them right in front of me, sir.
Jimmy, you were the town treasurer. I think it's 120,000 a year. That's 4 firemen or 4 policemen, roughly, or better. Why go all the way? Why not fix the roof? Take the skylights the heck out of there. Put plastic domes up. Fix what has to be done right now. Why go all the way? Why not get the gargoyles fixed also?
Still on to discussion under Article 5. Is there any further discussion at this time?
If I may, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, this building doesn't belong to the subcommittee or the Board of Selectmen. It's your building. You can do whatever you choose to do with it. But it's $1.9 million now, or it's $3 million in 3 or 4 years. Something's got to be done. Nothing's been done since 1909 other than minor repairs on this town hall. It's a wise investment. I think it's fair to say that this building is worth estimated value over $10 million. We could never replace it. Why not put the money to good use and repair it now?
Is there any further discussion under Article 5? If there's being none, we will take a vote at this time. As we said before, this article bears the approval of your Finance Committee because it is a borrowing article, requires a 2/3 vote, and we will vote by hand. At this time, all those in favor of the article indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The vote is unanimous. Article number 6.
Article number 6. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $90,000, said sum to be expended by the town treasurer to pay all costs incidental and related to the borrowing for the town hall renovation project as set forth in the note below. For interest obligation, first 6 months, $58,500. Financial advisory fees, $8,900. Legal fees, $4,000. Moody's rating fees, $6,000. Paying agency fee, $5,400. Printing fee, $4,000. Notes, excluding interest, $600. Miscellaneous, $2,600. Total, $90,000.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article numbers 6 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $90,000 to pay for costs incidental related to the borrowing for the town hall renovation project. This article bearing the approval of your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under this article? There be, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Philip Bailey, Chairman of the Finance Committee. As my good friend Bill Connolly from the chairman of the school department got up earlier, and the school department lowered their bottom line for us to have some working room here this evening, because we are very, very close to exceeding our tax levy. I'm just advising you of that situation. So consequently, I would like to make a motion to take the $90,000 that we need for the interest payment for the renovations of the town hall from the stabilization fund. That's it, Mr. Moderator. Excuse me? Yeah, we're going to amend that motion. Yeah. Michaels.
Okay.
In essence, we're amending the motion, Article number 6, to raise and appropriate to, or to take from available funds. We want to take it from the stabilization fund, the $90,000.
Okay. Mr. Conley. Mr. Conley. Motion has been made and seconded to change Article 6 instead of raise and appropriate or take from available funds. You will now be taking that $90,000 from the stabilization account. Okay. Any questions, comments, or discussion on that? If we try to take it from the stabilization account, it will become a 2/3 vote. Okay. You want to speak? Mr. Conley.
Just basically what Mr. Bailey is suggesting, and I agree, is that you have a savings account hidden away somewhere in a bunch of banks that you have put away over a number of years, and that is your nest egg. That you traditionally it was only available for capital improvements. Currently, it's now available for any valid expense that you can spend money for. But it's the action will really mean that rather than raising it from your tax levy or taking it from other sources, you will be taking it out of your savings account, this is what the stabilization fund is built for, so that it will allow a little more leeway, as Mr. Bailey said, in working with the dollars that we're taking in with taxes and the state assistance that we're getting. So that I would recommend that this pass.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to Article 6? Sir.
John Gibbons, Jr., 18 Winter Street. I'd like to ask a point of information. How much money is in our stabilization account? Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I may.
Please.
I don't know the exact figure presently there now, but we did have approximately 800,000. I believe we did receive notification from the DPW superintendent of reimbursements on the road resurfacing that we did. We had a warrant article last year for $250,000, and I believe we have received back in 144,000 as of this present date. So approximately 800,000.
Thank you. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to Article 6? Ma'am.
900.
Thank you. For those who didn't hear, the figure is believed to be close to $900,000 in the stabilization fund at this time, in answer to the original question. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion on the proposed amendment? All right, what you are voting on now, ladies and gentlemen, is whether to change the wording of the article to include the stabilization fund. You're not voting on the article. You're voting on the motion to change where you would take the money from. Is there anyone not clear on that? Raise your hand. Okay, once again, you're voting on to change the taking of the money from the stabilization fund. This requires a majority vote only. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. All right, that has passed. The motion now reads that it will take $90,000 to borrow, to take $90,000 from the stabilization fund for costs incidental related to the borrowing for the town hall renovation project. Because this is a stabilization fund article now, it now requires a 2/3 vote for passage. Questions, comments, or discussion on the article as amended? There being none, all in favor of the article as amended indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you, and opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Article number 7.
Excuse me.
Bernard Walsh, 15 Skyline Drive, town. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that we consider Articles 7 after we consider Article 8 and 9. I would like to move Article 7 behind Article 8 and Article 9.
Okay, motion has been made to delay the taking up of Article 7 until after we are finished with Articles 8 and 9. Is there a second to that motion? Motion is made now and seconded. I will allow, in the interest of explanation, one person to state why they would like to do this, and if one person after would like to explain why we shouldn't, I will allow that too, and then we will vote on this. All right, is there anyone who would like to make it, for discussion's sake, as to why they would like to do this? Sir.
The reason we're requesting that this article be moved behind Article 8 and 9 is because they are proposed bylaw changes which will affect the current status of the non-union employees in the town hall, the library, and the police department. I feel at this time that Article 8 and 9, which is considering the compensation, should be considered before we talk about the issues of the personnel bylaws themselves, which will change their hours worked, their vacation schedules, and everything else. So for that reason, I would request at this time that we move the article behind Article 9.
All right, is there anyone at this time who would like to speak against moving the article? Anyone would like to speak against moving the article? All right, there being none, we will take a vote at this time. You are voting to move the article behind Article 9 if you vote yes. All those in favor of moving Article 7 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. We will now take up Article 8.
Article 8. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adopt the schedule of wages and salaries for town employees for fiscal year 1995, which has been prepared and submitted by the Town of Clinton Personnel Board, a copy of which is attached to this motion, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $149,804.23 to implement said increases.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 8, having been made and seconded, dealing with a total sum, it's in your warrant, I won't read the entire thing, it's about approximately 40 individuals, it's coming to a subtotal of $149,804.23 in salary increases. Just so you know where we're coming from this article has been disapproved by your Finance Committee, therefore will require a ballot vote when it is taken and requires a majority vote for passage. Okay? Sir.
Ed Sheridan, Chairman of the Personnel Board. I move to amend Article 8 so that it would read, to see if the town will vote to adopt the following schedule of wages and salaries for town employees to become effective January 1st, 1995, which has been prepared and submitted to the Town of Clinton Personnel Board, and to raise and appropriate or take from available funds such sums as required to implement said increases. The reason for the amendment, both logistically and financially, I think it'll be best for the town. And what we're looking for and hoping for is that the town will make a commitment to those non-union town employees that effective January 1st, they'll be at the pay rates that are listed here. So rather than the pay rates going into effect on July 1st, they'll go into effect each calendar year. And that would reduce what we need to appropriate this year by half, because it would only be half, be $74,902.12 for FY94 and FY95.
Thank you. I'm going to have to ask the people in the back to please sit down so that we're going to be moving a lot of equipment in for the ballot vote that will be coming in shortly. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's a proposed amendment to Article 8 to see if the town will vote to adopt the following schedule of wages and salaries for town employees to become effective January 1st, 1995. Is your change delay of 6 months, which would change the figure from what is written in your warrant of $149,804.23 to $74,902.12. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay. Under discussion, we are now discussing the proposed amendment change at this time. Is there any discussion under the amendment change? There being none, we'll vote on that at this time. You're voting now not on the article, but whether to change the figure, the implementation of the article until January 1st, 1995, therefore decreasing the amount from what it is written in your warrant to exactly 1/2 of that. Anyone not clear on what they're voting on? Everyone is clear then? All right. All those in favor of the amendment changed, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment is adopted. Now, is there any further discussion under Article 8 as amended already?
I would also like an amendment in conjunction with the vote on Article 2 to change the assistant treasurer from a part-time to a full-time position. I would like to change the figure to $22,646 for assistant treasurer.
Phil, excuse me, say that again, please.
Change assistant treasurer
From what?
from what is listed
Where are you looking now? At the
personnel board.
$11,323.02?
Right. To $22,646. Because in Article 2 it was changed to $17,065. So in conjunction with the changes from Article 2 to Article 8, where everybody's
first of all,
salary is increasing.
a motion has been made to increase on the 5th line item down, assistant treasurer from $11,323.02 to $22,646. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Questions, comments, or discussion under this amendment to Article 8? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor of the adjustment to increase that dollar amount, indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Is defeated. Still under discussion under Article 8. Ma'am.
I'd like to amend the article to read under health agent. What happened was the two positions were transposed, so they have to be switched. Health agent would read $14,024 in the first column, $15,122.04 in the second column, with a difference of $1,098.04. And then health inspector would read $8,032 in the first column, $97.98.17 in the middle column, and $1,766.17 in the last column.
Okay, just for a point of clarification, is this something that was just misdone, or is it a printing error? All right. Motion has been made and seconded to change those line items, just reverse them because of a printing error. Is there a second to that motion? Motion, any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. That is passed unanimously. We are still under Article 8. Questions, comments, or discussion? There being none. Okay. Again, this article has been disapproved by your Finance Committee and therefore requires a ballot vote, and it requires a majority vote for passage. Who is supposed to be on this side? Oh, okay. Thank you. 1 and 2? Okay. If you have your papers? Ladies, have your papers? All right. Just, we'll try and do this orderly. You're going to come up and precincts 1 and 2 are over here. Precincts 3 or 4 over there. You take a ballot. Yes is to pass the article, and no is to defeat it. Yes is to pass, no is to defeat. Stanley? Ladies and gentlemen, if you kindly take a seat, we're going to move forward here. We have finished with the article. Ladies and gentlemen, the vote on Article 8 is as follows. Yes votes are 185, no votes are 132, and the article is passed. We now move on to Article 9.
Article 9.
No.
Article 9. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adopt the step increase grade classification schedule for Clinton employees as established and recommended by the Town of Clinton Personnel Board, a copy of which is attached to this motion.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 9 have been made and seconded, dealing with the issue of adoption of a step increase grade classification schedule as established by the Town of Clinton Personnel Board. That motion have been made and seconded. Okay. Questions, comments, or discussion? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, I'd move to amend that article to read, to see if the town will vote to adopt and recommend a step increase grade classification schedule as established by the Town of Clinton Personnel Board to become effective January 1st, 1995, or act in any manner relating thereto.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. I got it. What the effect of this amendment would do would be delay implementation of this grade classification schedule until January 1st of 1995, delaying it 6 months. Questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to Article 9? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All in favor indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment is passed. We are now still under Article 9 as amended. Any further questions, comments, or discussion on this article? There being none, this article vote will be taken by hand, and it requires a majority vote. We'll vote at this time. All in favor of Article 9 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. We will now go back and deal with Article 7 that we had skipped over previously.
Article 7. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adopt a comprehensive personnel bylaw for the Town of Clinton, which has been prepared for and submitted to the town by the Personnel Board and is entitled Town of Clinton, Massachusetts Personnel Bylaw Final Draft, submitted by the Town of Clinton Personnel Board. A copy of said bylaw is attached and made part of this motion.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 7 have been made and seconded, dealing with the personnel bylaw for the Town of Clinton as prepared by the Personnel Board. Questions, comments, or discussion under this article? Sir.
Again, Mr. Moderator, I'd move to amend the article to read, to see if the town will vote to adopt a comprehensive personnel bylaw for the Town of Clinton to become effective January 1st, 1995, which has been prepared for and submitted to the Town of Personnel Board with the following entitlement.
Second on that motion. Motion been made and seconded to amend Article 7 to, after the words "for the Town of Clinton," insert the words "effective January 1st, 1995," delaying the implementation of Article 7 by 6 months. Questions, comments, or discussion on the proposed amendment? There being none, all in favor of the amendment indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The amendment is passed. Now on to discussion under Article 7 as amended. Questions, comments, or discussion?
I have just a comment under one of the one of the personnel bylaws. Section 1.2-3, responsibilities of appointing authorities and department heads. It says that the Personnel Board may enforce provisions of this bylaw and all administrative rules and procedures adopted by the Board, and may nullify any personnel action accomplished by an appointing authority or department head which does not comply with provisions of the bylaw. And then in the legal handbook for boards of health, it states that under authority to hire and fire, boards of health have exclusive authority to hire, fire, and establish contracts with officers, agents, and assistants they deem necessary to execute the health laws and regulations, which is the Mass General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 27. And under that, it also says that no bylaw or ordinance can be passed that would conflict with a law established by the General Court, Mass Constitution Amendment, Article 2, Section 1, due to the express legislative mandate in Mass General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 27, giving boards of health power of appointment, removal, and the ability to fix the salary and compensation of its agents. A town bylaw establishing a practice otherwise would be in conflict with an act of the legislature.
All right, I take it that's a question or comment at this point, is that right? Okay, Mr. Sheridan?
If I could address that. 12.3, basically what that says in the personnel bylaw is that the bylaw it's a guideline by which people should be hired, fired. Everybody has to be, all jobs have to be posted. People have to be warned before they're fired. They can't just be thrown out the door because they didn't get the pepperoni on the pizza, okay? What this does is it holds everybody accountable, employees and employers, for following the law. The bylaws are written up in accordance with federal law and state law. They follow the state constitution, and they're not really in conflict with anything the Board of Health might do. We're not taking the appointing authority away from anyone. If the DPW needs an employee, it's going to be that supervisor who's going to hire the person. All we're going to do is make sure that they met the minimum qualifications, the job was posted, everyone had a fair shot at the job, and the guy wasn't slid in on a midnight vote. Basically what it does is it evens the playing field. The Board of Health is more than happy to recommend whatever they need to run their department and hire whomever they like, so long as they do it according to the bylaw. Thank you.
We are still under discussion under Article 7 as amended. Is there any further discussion at this point? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time, again requiring a hand vote majority for passage. All those in favor of Article 7 as amended indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. We'll now move. Sir. You can one at a time. Motion has been made to reconsider Articles 7. Okay, 7. A second on that, please. Okay, motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 7. If you vote yes, you will reconsider the article. If you vote no, you will end all discussion on the article for the evening, and it will remain as a passed article. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 7 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The article is not defeated. We will have no further discussion on Article 7 during this meeting.
Mr. Moderator, I move we reconsider Article number 8.
Motion has been made to reconsider Article 8. Is there a second? There is. Motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 8. If you vote yes, you will reconsider the article. If you vote no, it will remain passed, and we will have no further discussion on the article during this meeting. All those in favor of reconsideration of Article 8 indicate by raising your hand now, please. All those opposed? Thank you. We will have no further discussion on Article 8 during this meeting. It will remain passed.
And Mr. Moderator, I would move to reconsider Article 9.
Motion is made to reconsider Article 9 and seconded. Any discussion on that request? If you vote yes, you will vote to reconsider Article 9. If you vote no, you will end all discussion on that article this evening, and it will remain passed. All those in favor of reconsideration of Article 9 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We will have no further discussion on Article 9 during this meeting. It will remain passed. Article number 10.
Article number 10. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $25,097 to fund the first year of a 3-year negotiated agreement between the Police Department of the Town of Clinton through its Board of Selectmen and the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, Local 151, AFL-CIO. Said agreement will extend from July 1st, 1993 to June 30th, 1996, and has been negotiated in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 150E of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 10, motion have been made and seconded for the sum of $25,097 to fund the first year of a 3-year negotiated agreement between the Police Department and the Town of Clinton. This agreement starts from July 1st, 1993 to June 30th, 1996. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 10? There being none. This article is approved by your Finance Committee and requires a majority vote for passage. All those in favor of Article 10 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The article is passed unanimously.
Article number 11. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $38,246 to fund the first year of a 3-year negotiated agreement between the Fire Department of the Town of Clinton through its Board of Selectmen and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3189. Said agreement will extend from July 1st, 1993 to June 30th, 1996, and has been negotiated in accordance with provisions of Chapter 150E of the Massachusetts General Laws.
I second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 11 have been made and seconded, dealing with the sum of $38,246 to fund the first year of a 3-year negotiated agreement between the Board of Selectmen and the Clinton International Association of Firefighters from July 1st, 1993 to June 30th, 1996. Questions, comments, or discussion under this article? Mr. O'Laughlin.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move to amend Article number 11 to read as follows. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $26,000 to fund the first year of a 3-year negotiated agreement between the Fire Department and the Town of Clinton. The number $38,246,000 was a simple miscalculation and should reflect $26,000.
Mr. Moderator, I'll second that motion.
Amendment has been made to Article 11 to change the figure written in your warrant from $38,246 to $26,000. Have been made and seconded. Questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment to the article at this time? Sir.
Robert Winship, 58 Highland Street. The last 2 annual town meetings, I've come up to this microphone, the same one, the same spot, and I asked a question. As a matter of fact, I made an amendment to an article which would fund the raise for the fire department, the police department, I guess we had a school department. I requested that copies of those union contracts be placed in the office of the town clerk in Clinton, Massachusetts, in this town hall, so that anyone who had any doubts about what was in the contract would be able to go in and see them. Now, I've been trying for 2 years to look at a contract which has been approved by the voters of this town with the union employees, and I've been unsuccessful so far. But I read in the paper that there was a miscalculation in the first year of the contract that has been reached with the firefighters union. Miscalculation by the sum of something like $12,000. Well, I decided I better look into this and find out where it's going. So I'd like to know where the other $12,000? Is it going into the second year of the contract, or is it going into the third year? Or does it look bad that we've been asked on the warrant to fund $38,000 for this union and only $28,000 for the police union? I'd like to know where the miscalculation occurred, because I've never seen a copy of a contract since in the police or fire department since I've been a resident of this town, which is more than half a century. Thank you.
Mr. O'Laughlin.
Mr. Chairman, to address the gentleman, there is an intent to agree signed by this board this evening, as a matter of fact, with the fire union representatives. So a complete new contract is not available, but certainly when it does become available, it will be filed in the town clerk's office. To address the change in the numbers, the $38,000, 246 was negotiated, we thought originally, using terminology which would increase the base of that fire department union contract. However, when we revisited that discussion, again, it was not to the tune of $38,000. It was only $26,000. So the $12,000 is simply a miscalculation. We're not taking it to be compatible to any other contract. It's just $26,000 is what is needed to fund the first year of the fire department contract. And that's basically what it is.
Still under discussion under the article. Is there any further discussion? There being none. Again, this article bears the approval of your Finance Committee, requires a majority vote for passage. All those in favor of Article 11 as... I'm sorry. Did we vote on the amendment? Did we vote on the amendment yet? No. Thank you. We will now vote on the amendment. Okay? All those in favor of reducing the figure in the article as printed in your warrant from $38,246 to $26,000 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. That motion is passed. Any further discussion on Article 11 as amended? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. All those in favor of Article 11 as amended indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Okay, I'm going to come down, please. All right, we'll take that. Article number 11, a motion has been made to reconsider Article 11. Is there a second on that motion? There is a second. If you vote yes, you will open to reopen the article. If you vote no, it will remain passed and we will have no further discussion on the article during this meeting. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 11 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We will not reconsider Article 11 at all during this meeting again. It remains passed. Motion has been made to reconsider Article 10. Is there a second on that motion? There is. Okay, motion has been made to reconsider Article 10. If you vote yes, you will vote to reconsider the article. If you vote no, it will remain as you voted it, which was to pass it, and we would have no further discussion on this article during this meeting. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 10 indicate by raising a hand now, please. Thank you. And all those opposed? Thank you. We will have no further discussion on Article 10 during this meeting. It remains passed. Article 12.
Article 12. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of Section 83 of Chapter 71 of the Acts of 1993 as amended, known as the Educational Reform Act of 1993, to provide for an early retirement incentive program for the members of the Massachusetts Teachers Retirement System employed by the Clinton Public Schools, with said program to include a 5-year additional credit for age, service, or a combination thereof, and a limit of 10 on the number of eligible employees.
Second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 12, having been made and seconded, dealing with what is known as the Education Reform Act of 1999 to provide for an early retirement incentive program for members of the Mass Teachers Retirement System employed by the Clinton Public Schools. Said program to include a 5-year additional credit for age, service, or a combination thereof, and a limit of 10 on the number of eligible employees or act in a manner relating thereto. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 12? Sir.
Brendan Bailey, Superintendent of Schools, 21 James Street. This looks like it's the Superintendent of Schools retirement bill, but in all fairness, I'm asking the voters tonight to approve this section of the Reform Education Law to allow a number of teachers that are willing to make application for early retirement. One thing should be noted, that you must have at least 20 years in the retirement system, in the teacher's retirement system. The number of teachers here, 10, is a figure that was put in arbitrarily because the state will decide the number. It could be anywhere from 1 to 5 to 10, but the state ultimately will decide how many people will be eligible. I will just say this, that the number of people that have indicated they want to take or make use of this reform are people that, with one exception, average 32 to 35 years in education and 35 years in the pension system, the retirement system. These people are all dedicated. The same type of retirement system was offered other town and city employees. The question comes, is there a cost? Initially, there is a cost. However, I would assure the people that the cost that they would incur, and I can't give you the exact figure because, first of all, I have to get the applications and we have to meet with the retirement board, but the cost of this would be far outweighed by the people leaving and being replaced. I'll just give you, for instance, not without names or anything, a salary of someone getting $42,000. There could be an initial savings just in the salary account to provide funds that may be used for the retirement system or whatever, of anywhere between $18,000 and $14,000, depending upon the experienced teacher. I don't want to mislead people that these positions aren't going to be replaced, but they should be substantially replaced by people with less experience. Also, the benefits would be less that the new person would be receiving, plus the fact that anyone coming into the retirement system as of next September would be paying 8% of their salary into it, whereby most of the people that would be able to take advantage of this are only contributing 5%. I ask you on behalf of those teachers that want to take and make this available to vote in favor of it. Thank you very much.
Still under discussion under Article 12. Is there any further discussion? There being none, this article will take a vote by hand, requiring a majority vote for passage. All in favor of Article 12 as written in your warrant indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Sir. Motion has been made to reconsider Article 12 and seconded. If you vote yes, you will be voting to reconsider the article. If you vote no, you will end all discussion on the article and it will remain passed. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 12 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We will have no further discussion on Article 12 during this meeting. It will remain passed. Article 13. Sir.
I'd like to I know you have to read this article, Article 13. I would move that Article 13 be tabled inasmuch as the money is part of local aid that is coming to the town, and the town must expend that money regardless of whether it's under a separate item or not. So we're moving that, or asking that this article be tabled. Thank you.
Motion to table Article 13. Is there a second? Second. Explanation already been given. All those in favor of tabling Article 13 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is tabled. Article 14.
Article 14. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000, said sum to be used for the purpose of contracting for a land use study for the land owned by the town of Clinton located within the Weeki-Peeki Aquifer in the towns of Sterling and Leominster, Massachusetts.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 14, dealing with a sum of $10,000 for the purpose of contracting a land use study for the land owned by the town of Clinton, what is known as the Weeki-Peeki Aquafilter, the towns of Sterling and Leominster. This article has the bearing of the approval of your Finance Committee. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion under Article 14?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Jakonski.
I'd just like to explain to the people that the Weeki-Peeki Reservation in Sterling consists of about 700 acres that the town owns, 5 basins of water all connected to each other. The main dam there is called the Haywood Basin Dam. It is a earthen berm dam that is seeping at the bottom. It has been examined by the state engineers. The town has been warned that at some time in the future, there's not an immediate danger, but it's at some time in the future, the dam is in danger of failing. If it does fail, a loss of life is possible. We have been officially notified of that. It's going to cost money to fix that dam. 700 acres in Sterling has the potential to generate income for the town. It has the potential to generate revenues if properly managed. We are asking for $10,000 to have professionals take a look at that 700 acres, make recommendations with regards to the quality of the water, what we might be able to do with the water, the timber, what other assets might be on the land, and how we could manage it to bring some revenue to the town. $10,000 if we have to hire a private concern will probably not cover the entirety of the land use study. We are talking with the School of Environmental Sciences at the University of Massachusetts, and if they do accept, we can probably get the whole study done for the $10,000 or less. It is necessary to have professionals take a look at the land assets up there so that we can make a reasonable judgment about what we can do to generate some revenue from the town and hopefully down the road fix that dam. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion under Article 14? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. Majority vote required for passage. All those in favor of Article 14 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is passed. Article 15.
Article number 15. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,000, said sum to be used for the purpose of contracting with the University of Massachusetts to conduct reuse studies of the Corcoran School building and the former town water barn.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 15 have been made and seconded, dealing with a sum of $8,000 to be used for the purpose of contracting with the University of Massachusetts to conduct a reuse studies of the Corcoran School building and former town water barn. This article has been disapproved by your Finance Committee. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 15? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time, requiring a majority vote for passage. All those in favor of Article 15 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is defeated. Article 16.
Article 16. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, as amended to authorize the Board of Selectmen to establish a sewer enterprise fund account.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Article number 16 have been made and seconded, dealing with the authorization of the Board of Selectmen to establish a sewer enterprise fund account. Questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, members of the town meeting, My name's Ed McIntyre. I live at 7 Norman Street in the town of Clinton. I move to amend Article 16 to read as follows. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half, as amended, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to establish a SOAR Enterprise Fund account and direct the collector of taxes to deposit into said fund all SOAR charges and SOAR revenues that the collector receives in fiscal year 1995 and in each succeeding year, or act in any manner relating thereto.
Okay, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to amend Article 16 to, in effect, add on to the article by adding the words, and direct the collector of taxes to deposit the said fund, into said fund, all sewer charges and sewer revenues that the collector receives in fiscal year 1995 and each succeeding year, or act in any manner relating thereto. Questions, comments, or discussion on the amendment change, sir?
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Now, Johnny Carson once said he had the easiest job in the world. All he had to do was read the paper and get on TV and do a monologue. I can't promise I'm going to be as funny as Johnny, but I've been reading the paper lately, and I'd like to point out a couple of things to you. Last Thursday, the item ran an article that I had written, and I know everybody here has read that article, so I'm not going to talk about that article. On the other side of the page, though, was about a young tenants phenom who had admitted herself into a drug rehabilitation facility down in Florida. I'll talk about withdrawal symptoms a little later on. The next day in the paper, the Telegram and Gazette, the item's competitor, I told you I wasn't going to be as funny as he is, but they ran an article about what's called economic target areas. And the Telegram and Gazette reported that Hudson, Framingham, Marlborough had been selected by the governor as a economic target area. Clinton is trying to get into an economic target area with Leominster and Fitchburg. Leominster and Fitchburg's application was not accepted as an ETA. Sunday in the Globe, there was a great article. And the Globe tells us we're not yet at an economic or a miracle, but Massachusetts is filling up again. Things are on the rise. There is an economic revival going on out there. Car registrations in Massachusetts are up. Passengers coming into Logan, they're up. Hotel occupancy is the greatest it's been since the mid-'80s. Office vacancy rates in Boston are out of, you can't get an office, quality office in Boston. They're coming beyond 128, they're looking at 495. The house market inside 128 has declined by, from 7,700 in January, we're down to 5,800 homes on the market now. And they said in this article in the Globe that people are looking at 495 for homes. What's this got to do with Article 16, you're probably asking yourself? It's got a great deal to do with Article 16. This town is under a SOAR moratorium, and we've been under a SOAR moratorium since 1985. In 1978, it was recommended that we do $2 million worth of SOAR renovations, refurbishments in this town. $2 million. Not one of those improvements has been made, and that is according to Mr. Gilmore, the Department of Public Works. The SOAR moratorium prevents us from any new connections, any expansions, or any reuse of our SOAR system in the town. If we don't take advantage of funding this enterprise fund by directing the collector of taxes to put our SOAR charges in, and all I'm talking about is that portion of your town water bill that is designated SOAR's charge. All I'm asking by this amendment is to direct the collector of taxes to take that portion and put it into a segregated account so we can start managing and operating properly our storage system. Because without an infrastructure, we're dead. We cannot compete, we cannot expand. Even had the governor declared Fitchburg-Leominster to be an economic target area, Clinton couldn't benefit. We have no sewerage allowance. We couldn't benefit. If they want to come west to build their homes, you can't do it in Clinton. Clinton has allowance for 8 single-family homes left. That's it. We can't build the residential communities that are already planned and on the books in town. We can't do it. If we want to fill up our mills and our empty offices in town, we cannot do it because we cannot connect to the storage system. So what's the problem? The problem is withdrawal. That's the problem. Because at the end of the fiscal year, the money that should be going into the storage account is not going into the storage account. The money is going into the operating budget. And we get that fix every June. Folks, we simply have to say no to any more fixes in June. We've got to fix our storage system or we're going to be stifled. We're going to renovate this beautiful building, and we should do that. But what's the sense of renovating this building, and what's the sense of paying people a fair wage who work in this building if we're not prepared to invest in our own economic future, the future of the town of Clinton? This vote is a vote for you. It's the only vote that we're voting tonight for the town of Clinton to improve itself economically. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, we are still under discussion on the amendment change to Article 16. Is there any further discussion on the amendment to Article 16? There being none, we'll vote on the amendment at this time. All those in favor of the amendment which says, "And direct the collector of taxes to deposit into said fund all sewer charges and sewer revenues that the collector receives in fiscal year 1995 and in each succeeding year." All in favor of that indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The amendment is passed. We are now under Article 16 as amended. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16 as amended? There being none. Sir.
Mark Furno, 395 Chestnut Street, Clinton. Can either the Finance Committee or someone else who knows the answer tell us what withdrawal means in real terms? For what are we now spending our sewer money on? And how will we pay for whatever that is if we do this?
Mr. Go.
If I may, Mr. Moderator. Mr. McIntyre visited our selectmen's meeting last week, and he posed the question straightforward to me, what we were taking in for water and sewer. And he's correct in saying that we are taking in both approximately $600,000. I did say at that time, under ideal circumstances, we would love to be putting it to the sewer and water infrastructure. But we are presently using that money to run town government, to pay for the people that are going out in the breaks in the water and sewer systems, to run the schools, to run every agency that's associated with the town of Clinton. We don't have the answers right here and now. It would be lovely if we could take all of that money, because we certainly recognize that we have an archaic system that needs to be fixed. But I want to just caution you all before you vote on this, that if you choose to do it tonight, we are in very serious problems with our fiscal budget. I just caution you before you vote on this article.
Is there any further questions, Mr. Jakonski?
Moderator, I concur with the chairman on that, and I think to sit here and Mr. McIntyre did appear before the board, and the board stated we do what we could, and we put it on an article to get the thing started. And we had done some work that we figured might be able to help towards the total resolve at the start of it. Now we come along and we're going to take $350,000 out of this budget here tonight. Now, somebody's going to have to sit down and rework this whole budget all over again from top to bottom. So if you want to buy it, the sewer thing right now, or give us another year with it to put us on our feet to see where we're going, or to take that out of the budget this time, somebody's going to have to do it, and it may hurt somebody. Thank you.
Sir.
I didn't say withdrawal was going to be easy. I think these people, and I think the people in town, have the ability to do it. It's just our will. We have to make a decision here tonight to do it. They can plan it. They've got the expertise. These people here, there are people in town that lend a hand to do it. It's not $350,000 either we're asking for here. We're talking about maybe $280,000. And that $280,000 is not dollar for dollar out of the operating budget into the enterprise fund. That's not the way it works. A portion of Mr. Gilmore's salary is going to come from the enterprise fund. A portion of it's going to come from the operating budget. A portion of his clerks going to come from his enterprise fund, a portion from the operating. That is to say, the enterprise fund is going to fund the sewer system. I'm not saying 100% either. His employee benefits, a portion of them coming from the enterprise fund, a portion from the operating. So it's not a dollar for dollar juggling here. We got to start somewhere. And I think we got to start here tonight. If we had done this years ago, we wouldn't have spent $1.95 million tonight and $90,000 for financing tonight. What's going to be a year from now? In 1978, they were talking $2 million. I have no concept, I've got no idea, nobody in this room knows how much eventually we're going to have to pay to bring our sewer system up to snuff. But I'll tell you, until we do, 8 single-family homes, that's the limit. New business in town? No way. Expansion of businesses in town? No way. A quality restaurant, 150, 200 people? No way. It can't be done. You take a look at the piece of property across from McDonald's that's been on the market for I don't know how long. People are suggesting buying it, putting a multi-purpose hall down there. It would be beautiful. We wouldn't have to go up to Leominster for our weddings and our anniversaries and whatever. But if they built a building down there, they couldn't connect it to the sewerage system. Probably only the federal government could build a building down here and connect to the sewer system. It stands there vacant, empty, no tax revenues from it. What could be the tax revenues? I say, let's begin withdrawal tonight. Thank you very much.
Still under discussion. Mr. Jakonski.
Mr. Moderator, I hate to disagree with Mr. McIntyre, as I generally agree with him on the importance of this fund. The original motion had been put in there by the Board of Selectmen to begin the process of establishing a sewer enterprise account to do exactly what Mr. McIntyre wishes done. We had originally requested $30,000 to get some outside consultants to do some of the studies. The Finance Committee thought that was excessive and not necessary. We then agreed to try to do some of the legwork for this article ourselves with town employees. The problem with Mr. McIntyre's approach is that it takes $300,000 out of the general fund, and now from the general fund, we have voted here tonight a lot of money. And should this motion pass as it is presently constituted, we will be leaving this meeting here tonight without any idea at all how to fund the money that has been passed, because $300,000 has been removed from the general fund, as it eventually should be. I would like to ask that this motion be defeated as currently reads, and I would then like to ask that we reconsider it and pass it as it was originally proposed. That would give the Board of Selectmen, the Administrative Assistant, DPW, the Finance Committee, a year to not only look at the sewer system as it is and what it's going to cost to fix and do the calculations that would enable us to set a sewer rate, and they're quite complex, but would also give us a year to figure out what we're going to do with the $3,000 being gone from the general fund. Basically, some $300,000. Basically, I agree with Mr. McIntyre that $300,000 should not be in the general fund, but how to make up that $300,000 requires some planning. So I hope this motion, as presently read, will be defeated. Thank you.
Still under discussion under Article 16. Sir.
My name is Stan Starr on Hughes Street in Clinton. Just as a suggestion, in a spirit of compromise, if that's the word to use, I totally agree with Attorney McIntyre, who did an extensive amount of research into this program. It's needed. We have precedent in our town with our ambulance enterprise fund. It placed costs and incurs expenses where they belong. I firmly believe it's needed for all the reasons that have been mentioned already. I further agree, having served previously on the Finance Committee, that it creates a huge situational mess here if it's approved as is. If there's some way in a relatively short period of time, a la 3 or 4 minutes, that there could be determination of how much money might be available, perhaps a funding sum of $100,000, $150,000 the first year might be a doable compromise to this and get it off center. It seems both sides are agreeing the difficulty is the monies, at least for the first year. Get it going with something. It's an ice cream cone without ice cream. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion under Article 16? Sir.
Mr. Moderator, ladies and gentlemen, Philip Bailey, Chairman of the Finance Committee. A previous speaker, Mr. McIntyre, is absolutely correct on the sewer enterprise, and we certainly have to do this work, have to set up an enterprise fund. The Board of Selectmen is offering an article here tonight. The chairman of the board, the chairman of the Finance Committee has sat with the DPW superintendent for several hours reviewing this. We have a complete history of the problems of the sewer system in the town of Clinton. We, in the last 15 years, from LEA to Metcalf and Eddy, and have reviewed the sewer system, made studies on the sewer system. Absolutely correct on the water and the sewerage. The money was supposed to be put here, there. We have been using it in the general fund. Board of Selectmen want to set up an enterprise fund. We would like to have your permission to set this up in-house, appoint a committee to look into the enterprise. I believe that there are some stipend available funds for the setting it up and get this thing into action. There is no question there are problems. There are problems that we have known about in the town of Clinton, on Burdett Hill, the Acre, and every district on the sewers. We have to correct them. We have to start somewhere. Please give us an additional time to get this thing organized. Do not take it out of your general fund tonight, or we'll be back here cutting more pays, cutting because we are well over our tax levy.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator, Anthony Carboni, 260 Sterling Street, Clinton. I urge the people to vote in favor of the article as amended tonight in agreement with Mr. McIntyre. I'm hearing fear of problems with general fund and funding other departments from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I have a question I'd like to place through you to Town Solicitor. on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, is it not true that the Massachusetts general laws are very specific and tried in court, I believe in the city of Everett, with a fee system where that fee has to go and not to fund other departments in general fund? And if we can't get that answer tonight from town solicitor, maybe Mr. McIntyre as an attorney, or something, to consider this question. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to handle that? Mr. Jagonski? Oh, I thought you wanted this. Okay. I don't think go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I'll just say that, first of all, I don't feel that I'm qualified to make an answer to that question where I don't have a legal degree, and I certainly am not qualified, but if the town moderator would like to look into it, and, I'm sure he would give an adequate answer at some other time, but...
No.
Excuse me?
Hey, well, that's why we have hands, man. We have hands, and we have a microphone. There'll be no more calling out, please.
Mr. Moderator, I'm just making an attempt to answer the gentleman's question. I'm not qualified, so all I'm saying to you is I'm not qualified to answer it. I'm not an attorney.
Thank you. Mr. Conley?
If somebody would please repeat the question, I'd be willing to try to answer it.
I believe the question, Mr. Conley, was, is there a law that requires the sewer charges and sewer revenues to be put into some fund other than the general account? Is that correct?
I
Why
would
don't you come up
say
and
yes.
rephrase it then?
My first impression would be yes. When you collect a fund for a specific use, you should commit it to that use.
All right, Mr. Carboni, go ahead.
Then, actually, that wasn't my question, but he answered my question. Then the second part to that question would be then to fund other departments through general fund with this fee that's very specific, that should be used for infrastructure and so on, sewage system. It would be illegal.
It's the same thing, because you're putting into a general fund. It's
Then it
obviously
would
not
be
going for
illegal.
what you're saying.
No, the chairman of the board said that we have to worry about losing positions in school department and this and that and so on, if it's being used for that, and it is specific with Massachusetts general law that it has to go as a sewerage fee to the sewer system and infrastructure, then it would be illegal for what we're doing and not setting up some kind of an enterprise, which I guess almost makes an enterprise thing a moot point because it's already in place.
We're talking about a hypothetical set of facts that are presented here. To say whether or not it's legal or illegal, for me to say it, you may agree or disagree depending upon what side of the aisle you're on, but the only person or persons that it's going to say legal or not legal is going to be if somebody litigates the question and we go to court over it. The town meeting over the last number of years that these fees have been in existence, we have been using them. Our books have been audited. DOR approves our use of them. Nobody has ever challenged the use, so that for our purposes here, our past practices are satisfactory to all of the reviewing agencies. Now, technically, whether we're doing it precisely correctly right now, I'm not prepared to say. I think what has worked for us in the past should continue to work for us. And to raise, questions of legality now, 5 or 10 years after we've been doing this, I don't know how much credibility you would get for it. But now that, as long as a question has been raised, we're under a potential order already. We're under the moratorium already. What the board has tried to do is to try to satisfy the state agency by at least showing the commitment to the sewer enterprise fund. and we're really walking now, and if we continue to walk and walk carefully and prepare the way for instituting the charges and devoting them, dedicating them to the fund, we will still pass the scrutiny of the state agency. To try running now, I think it will cause a lot more problems with our fiscal budget than it will satisfy or solve any of the sewer problems. I think the Board of Selectmen is taking a perhaps a slower approach, but we will certainly get there. And to force this use now, or this diversion of the funding that we're utilizing in the budget, I just think it will only bring us back here in a very short time to go back all through the budget that you've passed and all of the increases in the expenditures that you've made. You won't have the money to do that. So that I think that unless the matter is litigated by either a 10 taxpayer suit or something of that nature, we can continue the process that we've been using. And unless one of the overseers of our fiscal responsibilities, the Department of Revenue or some other such agency, challenges us, we can continue to do what we have been doing based on our past practices. So technically, and perhaps to a hypothetical question, we may be borderline on adhering to these this particular general law, but I think that we can justify at least temporarily what we're doing. And I don't like to take sides in the debate, but I think what Mr. McIntyre is suggesting be done is certainly the right approach to dedicate the money to the sewer to the sewer projects and to not take it from the general fund or use it in the general fund. However, if we do it this year, then we're just going to create more chaos, and we're not going to solve any sewer problems either. I would suggest that the Board of that you vote no on Mr. McIntyre's suggestion, and go with the Board of Selectmen and go with the Finance Committee for at least this current year, with a firm commitment, and they will have to make the commitment that a viable and functional sewer enterprise fund will be created and will be running this time next year. Thank you.
Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16 as amended? Sir.
William Colombo, 7 Ross Street. Through you to whoever has the figures on the stabilization fund. I believe that was at $800,000 earlier in the meeting. Considering several of the articles that have been passed this evening mentioned being taken from available funds, is it possible to take up the shortfall if Mr. McIntyre's article is passed, which it should be? I mean, we've been waiting since 1978. You know, someday, somehow, we've got to make this decision. Is it possible, you know, in my lifetime, is it possible to take the money from the stabilization fund to fund part of the $900,000 that was appropriated, or any other article that was appropriated this evening, thereby freeing up the money to establish this fund this year, not next year or the year after?
All right, just to answer your question, you probably got about $800,000 left in stabilization after the $90,000 article.
Okay.
That's a ballpark figure. All right.
Say $700,000 just for...
Right. Stabilization fund is to be used for capital equipment type of expenditures. Whether or not a building renovation project would come under that, I'm really not sure.
But again, that could possibly be one way of, in fact, funding Mr. McIntyre's, and if someone knows the answer to that.
Well, I would have to deal with that at this meeting, I think, because you're going to put a bond out on what the article has done here tonight. And if we wait for the fall meeting to try and rectify a budget shortfall, it'll be too late at that point, I think, to change the funding of the town hall renovation.
But if some of the articles in here could be funded through the stabilization fund, then in fact there would not be a shortfall.
Such as?
That's why I'm saying I do not know which articles fall under the stabilization fund or if any articles do.
There's a few coming up in the warrant, you may have probably already looked at, do deal with the stabilization fund on smaller expenditures.
Could it be, as Mr. Starr so aptly put it, could it be if $100,000 of the former article or the future articles could be taken out of the stabilization fund, that money could be put into the sewer account? Is that a possibility? No one's seemed to have taken up Stanley's proposal. Thank you.
Okay. Sir.
Eddie McIntyre is completely right. We've been using the money in the general fund to fund the running of the town. It is almost impossible for us to remove $300,000 from this present budget. I would suggest to Eddie McIntyre, or at least ask Eddie McIntyre, if he would withdraw his motion and change the amendment to read something like that upon certified cash receipted from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, probably in August or September, that we dedicate that monies to satisfy the Sewer Enterprise Fund. By that time, in October or late September, it would give the Board of Selectmen the opportunity to get the enterprise fund up and running and in place. There is absolutely nothing we can do at this moment if you people sit here, and I don't have any problems with just sitting here and doing it, except that I don't know where we're going if you dedicate that money. Because right now, we might be $5 from being over the Prop 2.5 now. So if you dedicate $300,000 into this enterprise sewer fund tonight, we're probably going to be back here before June 30th, looking for another $300,000. So I would ask Eddie McIntyre to at least give us the leeway of at least 4 months to put the program together. We get notified by the Commonwealth that we have X number of dollars in free cash, that we make a commitment, the Finance Committee and hopefully the Board of Selectmen, that we will address and dedicate that money to get the Sewer Enterprise Fund up and running.
Okay, just as a point of clarification now, so that everybody's clear, the amendment as proposed by Mr. McIntyre has already been voted in at this point, so we'll take another amendment to change it, to change anything. I mean, that's the way it would be at this point. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion under Article 16 as amended? There being none, we'll take a vote at this time. It requires a majority vote. We will vote by hand. All those in favor of Article 16 as amended indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Down. Thank you. Once again, all those in favor of Article 16 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? I think we're going to use our tellers on this. The vote is very close. You know what section? I'll take the Board of Selectmen. Five no. I'm sorry. All those, it's my fault, really. All those in favor of the article indicate by raising your hand now, please, and please leave your hand in the air until you know that you have been counted. Okay. All those in favor of the article? Thank you in the balcony. Thank you. Now, and all those opposed to the article, please indicate by raising your hand. Again, leave your hand in the air until you are sure you are counted. Okay, I got you. The vote, ladies and gentlemen, is 93 no votes and 75 yes votes, and the article is defeated.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move to reconsider Article 16.
Motion has been made and seconded to reconsider Article 16. Mr. Jakonski, do you want to explain that, or?
Yes, lady.
No, we've already passed the amendment, sir. Your amendment had already passed previously. So that was the article itself. Okay? We're now...
I voted in the negative, that's right.
Right. Please listen to the explanation for the, I'm going to allow it because of the nature of it. I think the motion to reconsider deserves an explanation because I think there's something that wants to be done here that's not being done. So, Mr. Jakonski.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you will vote yes on the reconsideration so that we may get this back on the table. The Board of Selectmen are not shirking their responsibility with regard to the enterprise account. The Board of Selectmen initiated this article. We wish to establish an enterprise account. We hope that you will vote yes to reconsider. We will then move to take the money out for this year, give us the time to do the planning and the figuring, and proceed from there. We are committed to getting the sewers fixed. We just need to have the time to do it in a reasonable manner. Just a word with regards to some of the compromises that have been suggested. In a sewer enterprise or any other enterprise account, 100% of the revenues have to be deposited in the account. So, because the Board of Selectmen has also done some research on this, so that a compromise that would say, well, put 150,000 of the sewer revenue monies in there is very reasonable, and that's the way we should be able to go, but we can't. It's illegal. So I hope you will vote yes on the reconsideration, and then we can leave here this evening making some progress on the enterprise account. Thank you.
All right. At this point, is there anyone who would like to speak against, because I allowed someone to speak for, against the reconsideration? I would allow that. Otherwise, we'll just vote on it. I'm not seeing anyone. We will now vote on reconsidering Article 16 as you had amended it. If you vote yes, you will open the article back up again. If you vote no, it will be defeated for the night. All those in favor of reconsideration of Article 16 indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. The article is now reconsidered. It is still being reconsidered as you had amended it. And that's how it now sits.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the motion to remove the reference to the tax revenues. I move to return the motion to its original form.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to put Article 16 back in the form as it was in your warrant initially, and to delete the words, "and direct the collector of taxes to deposit into said fund all sewer charges and sewer revenues that the collector receives in fiscal year 1995 and each succeeding year." Questions, comments, or discussion on that amendment? There being none, we'll vote at this time. You are voting to delete that section at this time, not on the article itself. All those in favor of deleting that section from the article indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. Okay, you have deleted the article back to its original form as it is printed in your warrant. Questions, comments, or discussion on that article? There being none. All those in favor of Article 16 as it is written in your warrant indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. That is passed unanimously. Article number 17. I don't care. It's up to you.
You want to continue to Wednesday night? Continue to Wednesday night?
Ma'am.
Deborah Grant, 17 Clamshell. I'd like to move that we consider Article number 23. It's a proposal to have the town enter into an intermunicipal agreement for the Tobacco Coalition. I'd like to see that.
All right, is there any second on that motion? Motion has been made and seconded to take action on Article 23 at this time. We will vote now. All those in favor of on voting on Article 23 at this time indicate by raising your hand now, please. Thank you. And opposed? Thank you. We'll now take up Article 23.
Mr. Moderator, if I may, I would like to just put it out for conversation. It's well past 11 o'clock and we still have quite a few articles to go, so I would like to know what the feeling of the people still here, if they would like to continue this meeting till Wednesday night.
Okay, why don't I put this to a vote just in terms of a consensus. The feeling of the board is we would reconvene this meeting on Wednesday night. It is 11:15 and we've still got a ways to go. Just show of hands, how many would like to reconvene Wednesday night? Thank you. How many would like to keep going? Okay, the consensus seems to be that we reconvene. Before you go, I just have a word of caution to you on the articles that have been voted on this evening, and we have to vote to adjourn, and we haven't done that yet anyway. If anyone intends on reconsidering an article that has been voted on this evening, we must hear from you now that it is your intention to do so, or you must notify the town clerk before we start the meeting, before the close of business on Wednesday in his office. Otherwise, you cannot reconsider an article. That is not my rule, that's a town bylaw. So, is there anyone who would like to say that they would like to reconsider an article at a reconvened session, excluding those articles that were already reconsidered and cannot be by law? Sir. $250. Correct. We will need a quorum of 250 people Wednesday night. That's the question and that's the answer. 250.
Go ahead, let's go for the reconsideration on the sewer.
Which one? They did. They did. That's all set. It's passed as written. You've already reconsidered it once. That's done. Yeah. What do you want to do? I guess that's it. They're leaving. So. Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn
Till
till
Wednesday.
Wednesday evening at 7:30. Seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you all for coming. What?
Grouping kids so that they learn from each other and complement one another's strengths, things like that.
We just had this past week a math manipulatives workshop where we had 23 members of the staff, elementary, attend a 2-day session. And the funding for that came through the Eisenhower grant. And it was to expose them to the K-4 curriculum standards and to also equip them with some of the manipulatives that they learned about to go back into the classroom and then try to implement successfully. So again, looking at more of a hands-on approach to math.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Do we have the Supreme Court next? Yeah, Mr. Gotcha.
As you have heard from Lou and Rose and Dawn, so that you know that we've had a very, very busy summer. And the staffing and management needs, which Mr. Gardner and I will present to you tonight, are an outcome of all these meetings that have transpired. There has been a lot of thought and collaboration that has gone into presenting you with these charts. And perhaps you'd like to look at the charts that are displayed over there and have a little colorful break from the overhead. The first staffing and management need chart we'd like to present to you is relative to the East District. The proposal is to have the East District be the current site of the Kane and the Hildreth School. Projections are being made based on Mr. Hess's April enrollment figures from which the district lines were drawn. The projections are similar to what is currently in place, where the East District would be 2 building principals, the office staff would have 2 clerks and 2 administrative assistants. Based on the enrollment figures of April of this year, there would be a need for approximately 9 to 10 grade 1 teachers, 8 to 9 grade 2 teachers, 8 to 9 grade 3 teachers, and 8 to 9 grade 4 teachers. In order to support the staff and the children in the co-curricular areas, we feel that there would be need for 2 art specialists, 2 music specialists, 2 physical education specialists, 1.5 library assistants, and 2 reading specialists. And to pull the whole general building operation together, remaining status quo, there would still be a need for 5 building custodians. The second chart is reflective of the West District. And the West District would be the current sites of the Richer and the Bigelow schools. You will see, without me going through each item, that the needs of the West District are very similar to what we're proposing in the East District. The difference is based on the student population, where there may be slight variations in the number of staff needed for grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, which could reflect anywhere from a 2 to 4 teacher difference, depending upon the grade level needs of that district. The staffing of the specialists would be the same as the East District, and the custodians would be the same. And again, I must say that these figures may ultimately change as the numbers do change and as the population of Marlborough grows. And I think we're always going to be faced with different sizes at different grade levels and different needs of teachers, as we are every year. The second part of our proposal is the vision for enhanced staffing and management. And in your packets, you did receive an overview with some extensive narration regarding these principles. As can be seen on Mr. Gardner's chart, we are proposing a pyramid of support services, and I think you can visually see that pyramid. The reason we're proposing a pyramid of support services is first and foremost to enhance opportunities for students as we begin to make transitions in the Marlborough Public Schools, because students are number one. Students are what we are all about. Secondly, proposing this pyramid of support services to assist in the facilitation and the development of the 5-year curriculum plan that you've heard alluded to tonight. And thirdly, to provide equal access, resources, and direct services to all involved in the educational process, from the student, the parent, the community member, as well as the variety of educators that we serve. This support pyramid does not reflect a great change in number of personnel needed, but does reflect a change in the roles and the functions of those support personnel. And just to quickly go over the chart and the overhead, at the top of the support services in each district would be 2 collaborating principals. Within and under that would be direct collaboration and services of the district curriculum coordinators, Rose and John. Redefining the function and the role, we have then 3 areas of resource teaching specialists. The first one being the Reading Language Arts Resource Specialist. There would be a need for 2 at the east side of the district, 2 at the west side of the district. A need for a math resource specialist, 1 at each side of the district, and their role is overviewed in the narrative. Technology computer resource specialist, 1 at the east and 1 at the west. An integral part of our proposal is to have lead teachers. The principals feel very strongly that it would be very nice to have 4 lead teachers. In other words, we'd have 1 lead teacher at the first grade at the East District and 1 lead teacher in the first grade at the West District, and all the way up grades 1 through 4. And part of their role would not only be instructional leadership and grade level coordination at their particular grade level within the district, but a very, very important part of their role would be the communication and planning with their grade level counterpart on the other side of the district in order to ensure equitable implementation of goals in districts across the level. Because even though we're calling this the East District and the West District, we want to ensure equal opportunities for all staff and children across the district lines. And the last thing that is part of our vision is one in-house permanent substitute for each district school in order to facilitate a lot of the collaboration and teaming that needs to occur at the grade levels. Since you've had an opportunity, I'm sure, to preview your packets, and the information, the narrative information, is available to the public on the charts, we would entertain Mr. Gardner and myself, or any of the members of the administrative team who are here in the audience and have all collaborated on this proposal, questions from the committee.
Are there any questions from the committee?
Any reason why you have elected not to have a science resource specialist?
We would be able to use the technology person for science, and also we are not using the gifted program, we can use that person as an enrichment person to build on the science area also, since we were only going to use the city kids program coordinator or person for a half a third grade program and some of the fourth grade. So we would have time to use that person as, enrichment person in that area.
And I think, Mr. Campbell, also that the areas that you see where we're in an implementation phase of curriculum and looking for additional in-service and support for teachers, the reading language arts area, the math area, and the technology computer area. So those are the areas that we'd like to channel our efforts in. And those are also the areas that students tend to need the remediation, enrichment, and a lot of different learning alternatives to meet their needs.
Well, I hope those questions don't put up another spot there. Are we in specifics? Is that what we're going to do now? The committee indicated that previous meetings were concerned about who's been doing what. Specifically, let's talk about evaluation and responsibility for staff. Bruce J. Campbell, am in the East District, and I'm going to be teaching at the Hillbrook School, grade 4.
Mr. Campbell, I think your question is in response to...
Let me finish the question. Specifically, who is going to be my evaluator? Who am I basically responsible to? Do we have that?
Can I answer that question?
Yeah.
At the last meeting, we introduced a concept of co-principling, which was tabled.
Yeah.
Therefore, at this time, we've not even got to that point because we have one principal assigned, or whoever the principal is in the building for this moment, unless something changes at a later time. Okay?
Will that question be answered eventually?
Well, we're going to bring a proposal before you to talk about co-principling and collaborative principling. When that happens and the committee either reaffirms its decision to have one principal at each building, or whether it opens up the opportunity for people to cross lines in order to work with evaluation as one of the things, one of many things, and you'll see some stuff in there, then we'll know.
Okay, I'll withdraw and hold.
Anyone else? Anyone else in this first?
Very good. I assume the higher numbers on the staffing levels are based on the optimum of 20 students per classroom. Thank you.
I believe it's your turn, Mr. Tully.